Alright, hello, welcome to Uncommon Starcraft. My name is Casey. We're getting into some coaching today for the first time. There's some areas I need help on, and Ninkazi is going to help me with that today. I've been asked not to remind him in the future, so this might be the only introduction for any of our coaching you'll see for a while. So it's all yours, boss.
Alright, so I'm not sure if I have you added yet in game, but let's go ahead and make sure we can find each other.
Yep, there you are.
Oh yes, we do have each other added. So, like I said when we first talked, I really would like to spend maybe not a full hour, but I would definitely want to start out, or maybe even more than an hour. I want to start out just focusing on basic macro mechanics. I really do believe, if you read the Google Docs I just shared with you, I really do believe macro mechanics are the most important part of Starcraft. They can get you pretty dang far. And what I'd like to do is we're gonna make a custom game, and let me go ahead and do that. And what we're gonna do is we're both just going to make Marines. We're going to see either how fast we can max out, or we'll pause at certain points in the game, and we'll tell each other what our supplies are at. So basically what I want you to do is don't scout me, don't try to build any technical units, don't make any tanks or medevacs or anything. Just make nothing but SCVs and Marines. And we're going to do that for maybe a game or two. I kind of just want to see where you're at when it comes to macro mechanics.
Okay.
And then we'll go from there. So feel free, I guess. Actually, no. I was just about to say feel free to make stim and stuff, but don't even make stim. Don't even get gas.
No gas. Okay.
For now, just make Marines. I want you to expand really fast. So early on, you can CC first if you want, I guess, if you know how to do a CC first. But for now, just make Marines. And let me know when you're ready, and I'll start the game.
Let's do it. You have my 100% focus. Aside from this coffee.
And we'll go ahead and pause at 10 minutes to see where we're both at. And then from there, I guess I'll decide if we should keep going, or if we should start over or whatever.
Okay.
Not enough minerals.
And then after we do this a couple of times, we'll start talking about the specifics of macro mechanics, different little nuances. We can even talk about hotkeys and whatnot if you want.
Not enough minerals. Not enough minerals.
SCV ready.
Yeah, and I may not talk a whole lot during this, so I apologize for that.
No, that's fine. Let's do it.
Additional supply depots.
SCV ready.
And like I said, don't worry about scouting, don't worry about attacking, don't worry about getting gas or anything.
Gotcha.
No gas, no reactors.
Not enough minerals.
Yep, right now we're just practicing the very, very basics of Terran, making Marines.
What's going? In the rear. What's going on?
Not enough minerals. Not enough minerals.
SCV ready. Good job, huh? Yes, sir. Woo-hoo! Overtime. Yep,
Not enough minerals.
we hear you. Bad news? Ah! You scared me!
Not enough minerals. Not enough minerals. Not enough minerals.
SCV ready. SCV ready.
Not enough minerals. Not enough minerals. Not enough minerals. Not enough minerals.
SCV ready. SCV ready. What's going on? SCV ready. Who wants some? SCV ready. Gangway. SCV ready. Bad news? This better be good.
Not enough minerals. Not enough minerals.
SCV ready. Go, go, go!
Not enough minerals.
You want a piece of me, boy? SCV ready. I can't. SCV ready.
Not enough minerals. Not enough minerals.
Gangway, coming through. Go, go, go! SCV ready. I can't build here. SCV ready.
Hopefully this goes without saying. I should have said this earlier, but feel free to make orbital commands. Meals are definitely fine to make.
You know, I actually didn't.
SCV ready. You want a piece of me, boy? SCV ready. This better be good. Who wants some?
Not enough minerals.
In the rear with the gear. Gangway, coming through.
Not enough minerals.
Go, go, go! Armed and ready.
Upgrade complete.
You want a piece of me, boy? This better be good.
Upgrade complete.
So basically what I want to help you learn by doing this is just the muscle memory of making Marines. You want to be able to make entire waves of Marines without even thinking about it.
SCV ready. I'm going. SCV ready. We hear you want some. This better be good. SCV ready. Go, go, go. SCV ready. You want a piece of me?
Mineral field depleted.
Gangway, coming through. SCV ready.
Not enough energy.
Armed and ready.
Not enough energy.
What's going on? This better be good. SCV ready.
Not enough minerals.
You want a piece of me, boy? Who wants some? Gangway, coming through. Go, go, go! Armed and ready. That's an egg. This better be good. Who wants some? This better be good. Gangway, coming through. You want a piece of me, boy? Armed and ready. You want a piece of me, boy? Go, go, go! This better be good. Who wants some?
Not enough
This
minerals.
better be good. some. You want a piece of me, boy? Yo, go, go, go! In the rear, armed and ready. Gangway, coming through. Armed and ready. Go, go, go! You want a piece of me, boy? In the rear, which this better be. I can't build here. You want a piece of me, boy? This better be good. Armed and ready. Anyway, coming through. You want a piece of me, boy?
Maxed out.
Wow, that was crazy timing, because so am I. So here, let's go ahead and pause.
Okay.
Alright, so let's see. How many bases do you have?
Building my 4th.
Alright, I am on... Here, I'm going to unpause for a sec.
Game resumed.
I have
Mineral field depleted.
5 bases mining, and I have a 6th on the way floating. How many barracks do you have?
Let's see. 1, 2, 3.
Mineral field depleted.
Wait, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 made, 4 more making.
Alright, let me count how many I have. 1, 2. Alright, I have 24, I believe. Oh, wait. No, 25.
Mineral field depleted.
What's going on? Move it.
I'm having trouble mathing right now. So I don't know if this is something you know, but if you have multiple things selected down in the middle, so where you see your unit selection, one row contains 8 units or 8 buildings or whatever. So if you ever need to like do some quick math, you can just do 8 times however many rows that are full, and then subtract whatever is missing from the 3rd row or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Mineral field depleted.
Big job, huh?
Okay, so I have 23. I thought I had 25. I have 23. And then I just finished up 3 more command centers. So you actually did really, really good. I actually, to be honest, didn't expect you to max out the exact same time as me. That was literally the exact same time. You said you were maxed, and I was about to say the same thing. So let's go ahead and end this game. Good job. You passed lesson 1. And then I'm gonna go ahead and look at like the performance and whatnot. So you actually spent less time supply caps than I did, but I made more workers. And I think that could have been because I was a little bit more aggressive about expanding. Do you recall like how fast you took your natural, how fast you took your 3rd?
I took since we were doing it as fast as we could, I took a natural and 3rd first. And then I went into barracks production. I stopped worker production when I had 16 at 3 bases. Actually, a couple more than 16 at 3 bases.
Okay, and so you were on top of making sure that certain bases weren't oversaturated, and you had your SCVs evenly spread out early on.
Yes.
Very good, very good.
But this is also the staircase was kind of how I got into Starcraft, so this was kind of my bread and butter. I break apart right after this.
Okay, okay. Well, you did a really good job. Like I said, you passed lesson 1.
Thank you.
Let's see. I'm just kind of looking at the different graphs and scores or whatever in the post game screen. Do you have do you know what Salite is? Do you use that program?
I do. I have it. Not on right now, but I have it.
Okay, good. I was just curious. I wasn't gonna tell you to use it for anything, but So light is a really, really good tool. It's like crucial for anybody who wants to, make improvements in this game, because it has a lot of different tools and features that let you see where you might be slacking or where you're improving.
Yeah, I've never used its custom features. I know I've definitely used it for auto replay upload and an APM overlay.
Okay.
But I haven't gotten to much of its better features there.
So if you look at that Google Doc I was writing, these 3 major rules I wrote down, these are actually what someone told me when I was first starting out, like trying to actually improve. Obviously, we never want to stop making SCVs, and I say here that it's kind of context sensitive, because there are certain points in longer games where you want to stop making SCVs. But a lot of the times, even if you're on 1 base or 2 base and both are super oversaturated, you still want to keep making SCVs, because as soon as you get another base up and running, you're going to be transferring SCVs to that base.
Okay.
So it's gonna unsaturate your first 1 or 2, and obviously the closer to saturation on your newest base, the better. And obviously we never want to get supply blocked. You did really well in that game just now. And if you do get supply blocked, everybody gets supply blocked. Even Korean pros get supply blocked sometimes. And as I wrote here, even if the enemy's knocking at your front door, you want to keep making supply depots, because a lot of times you're going to have supply depots either at your ramp or in clusters. If they do a drop next to a bunch of supply depots, it's likely that they're going to kill them. And a lot of good players will focus down supply depots with the intention of making sure you're supply blocked. So it's a really delicate balance, kind of, because you want to never get supply blocked, but you also don't want to waste money on supply depots that you don't need right away. You always want to stay like 1 production cycle ahead. So say you have 5 barracks, and they're all producing Marines. After you produce a cycle, you would want to throw down another supply depot so that your next cycle doesn't get blocked. And all these things, these 3 rules I have written here is, these are all the real fundamental basics, but they're so important. That's why I'm, starting out with that, and hopefully I'd like to drill these 3 rules into your head. And as you see, the 3rd one, arguably the most important: spend your money. No matter what you're spending it on, just spend it. You want to try, and this is also something that even Korean pros don't do all the time. You want to make sure as often as possible that you never have over 400 minerals, because obviously that's how much you need to build a command center. If you have 400 minerals, you usually want to build either a command center with it, 2 or 3 racks. You just want to be on top of keeping your minerals low. As Terran, unless you're going mech, gas isn't as important. It's still important, obviously, but Terrans, bio-Terrans rely on minerals, obviously, for Marines. So you want to be making as many Marines as you possibly can at any given point. And if you're supply blocked, you want to keep spending your money by starting upgrades early, or building more infrastructure, more barracks, more factories, more starports, more command centers. And so that kind of brings me to my next thought is APM. APM doesn't mean a whole lot like it does for some people. I'm a high APM player. I like to play fast. I'm of the philosophy it's easier to go from 40 miles per hour to 60 than it is to go from 0 miles per hour to 60, because there are moments in games where you're going to need really high APM, especially against good players. You're going to be hitting your macro cycles in between big engagements. You're going to be stutter stepping your Marines. You're going to be sending out drops. And I just feel like when I spam a lot, like in the beginning of the game, get my fingers warm, and keep up that pace throughout the entire game, it really helps me. So I don't know about you, if you're, if you're comfortable with whatever APM you're currently playing at. There are grandmasters who, are in grandmaster with under 100 APM, but those are usually Protoss players, Kappa.
Nice.
So basically that kind of brings me to my next thing is hotkeys. So what I like to do in the beginning of the game, and as with basically everything in StarCraft, it's kind of a per player basis. But I guess I'll let you know how I do my hotkeys. In the very beginning, I'll just hold down Control and run my finger across the numbers on my CC. I'll hotkey my CC to 1 through 7 or 1 through 8 or whatever. And then I'll just simply start out the game by spamming 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and practicing my boxing. So like boxing in all 4 different directions over my SCVs, from top right, bottom left, top left, bottom right, bottom left, upper right, etc. And you really need to work on boxing because that's how you do efficient splits. Also, you'll be in weird angles sometimes, or you'll have a weird camera view of your army. You need to be able to comfortably select your army in multiple different ways. It sounds really, I don't know, I guess basic and trivial, but it kind of is. It actually is a hard skill to develop. I know I had trouble for a while boxing my army from the top left to the bottom right for some reason. I typically like to box from the top right to the bottom left, or from the bottom right to the top left. I don't know why I usually like to drag my hand leftwards. So I spent a lot of time focusing on trying to box my units from the top left to the right or bottom left to the right. And also, so continuing with hotkeys, after I've set all of my numbers basically, because I usually use 1 through 6, sometimes 1 through 7. I also kind of have an unorthodox hotkey setup. You can choose to copy mine if you want, or you can keep doing what you're doing. I know you use the core. I don't know the core very well, but what I like to do is, as the game develops, I usually keep all of my command centers on 1. A lot of people like to put their armies on 1 and 2. I like to have my production, I guess, closer to where my hand rests. Because I'm kind of I focus a little bit more on production than I do army control in a lot of cases. And so I'll put all my CCs on 1, all my barracks on 2, all my factories on 3, all my starports on 4, and then 5 and 6 are typically my army.
Wait, sorry, can you say that again? What do you put on what?
Yeah, so I like to put all my command centers on 1, all my barracks on 2, all my factories on 3, all my starports on 4, and then my main army will usually be 5, and 6 will be like specialized units, like ghosts or Vikings or something, a group of units that I want to keep separated from my main army.
Okay.
And I don't know if you have the select all army hotkey bound.
It's super far away.
I actually use it kind of sparingly. I'm trying to grow out of the habit of using it. I used to use it a lot more. I have that bound to tilde, so it's actually right next to 1. Sometimes I'll still catch myself hitting it when I'm in like panic crisis mode, but for the most part I like to keep my army on 5. So I kind of have a weird backwards hotkey setup. I keep my army to the right on my numbers and my production to the left. A lot of people keep their army on 1 and 2 and whatnot. And then also a lot of other people will put all of their production on 1 hotkey. So for instance, their 1 and 2 will be their army, or even sometimes 1, 2, and 3 will be army. 4 will be CCs and engineering bays and upgrade buildings. And then 5 will be barracks, factories, and starports. And when you do your production cycles, one of the benefits of that is you can rally all of your buildings to the same place. So that's kind of a benefit, but also kind of it can be the opposite of beneficial sometimes, because sometimes you don't want all your your tanks, your Marines, and your Vikings hotkeyed to the same spot. So sometimes it can get a little bit difficult. You'll have to manually select all your barracks and rally them to one spot, manually select all your factories, rally them to another. But a benefit of putting all your production on one hotkey is it's pretty fast to do your production cycles. You can hit 5 AAA for Marines, tab DDD for Widow Mines, tab DDD for medevacs. And that was kind of long-winded. Sorry about that.
No, I was going to ask you about that because currently I have command centers on 1. I have all production on 2, like you just mentioned. But you just blew my mind. I didn't consider putting my upgrades on my command center hotkey, which would really make my layout so much easier. So I'm going to start doing that, I think, because upgrades are out of the way for me.
Yeah, so and also it's never a good idea to dedicate an entire hotkey to upgrades, because it's like, you're only hitting 2 buttons on your upgrade buildings every 3 minutes or however long it takes to upgrade.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
So a lot of people will put NG bays on the same hotkey as the command centers. I do sometimes. That's also another habit I'm trying to get into. Lately, what I've been, or I guess historically, my entire Starcraft career, I've kind of just clicked on the NG bays to start upgrades. And I kind of, after so many games, I kind of have an internal clock of when I need to look at my NG bays. But another thing about hotkeying then is you can start your upgrades or continue your upgrades without having to look at your base. So that's why that's something I want to start doing myself.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
And then, excuse me, but I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick, okay?
Sure. We'll take a quick break. I'm going to go get some coffee. 1 moment, please. There we go. Just long enough to pick up some coffee. Keep myself.
All right, I'm back too.
Awesome.
So I guess let me take a quick moment. That first game, you did really well with the Marine macro. Like I said, you did better than I initially thought you would. I mean, I know we're only 30 minutes in or whatever, but so far, do you have any questions or anything specific you've thought about since the last time we talked that you want to ask about?
Yeah, I think I'm hoping it will help identify a lot of my weaknesses and get after those. I do like starting out with the macro, kind of get you an understanding of where I'm sitting, but once we get to any build orders or matchups, I fall apart.
Okay. So we'll definitely spend some time talking about each matchup, different nuances when it comes to scouting, build orders, reacting to what you scout and whatnot. We'll talk about crisis management, best ways to deal with, certain cheeses or whatever. Also, so I asked you a couple questions the other day. You said you were going to think about it. Have you put any thought into, what are your goals, I guess, like as a player? What do you intend to, I guess you've kind of said this. You want to identify your weaknesses, but what do you intend to get out of this coaching? Because I think it's pretty important for you to have a clear vision of what you want to achieve.
If I walk out of this coaching and I have one solid, if I'm comfortable with one solid build order per matchup, and I kind of know what I need to work on and practice in the future, so not only having more tools in my toolkit, but knowing where I need to go after we're done.
Okay, so also another question. Do you have any idea of like what kind of player you want to be? Like, because I consider myself a pretty well-rounded player. I have a pretty decent arsenal of cheese builds, of 1 and 2 base all-ins, but I also have some really greedy builds and macro-oriented builds. Do you want to focus mainly on playing those long macro games where you get those late game units? You have to micro your ghosts versus your stemmed bio ball, and or do you want to I guess work on all of it in a way?
So right now I guess I naturally was working on a two base attack, and then if it went to the in game I struggled, so I guess it's a timing attack on the 2 base all in kind of thing, but I would like to be able to transition into the late game eventually. I just don't think I'm even comfortable getting a 2 base all in. I'm not comfortable with what I'm good at already on each matchup. So we'll say just the macro, everything. I don't want to be a cheeser. I wouldn't mind understanding the timing attacks, because I think those are that's a good way to go. But I don't want to be the proxy racks guy.
Yeah, I understand that. I can totally teach you a proxy racks too if you want. But yeah, I guess I just kind of wanted to know, what because everyone has their own style. There's cheesers, there's all-inners, there's late game players. So I guess
Timing. What would timing mean?
Yeah, timing attack based players. Sometimes I'm kind of a timing attack based player. Sometimes I struggle with transitioning out of timings I do.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think one of the biggest things to think about when you're doing these sorts of timing attacks is obviously, I guess it goes kind of without saying, is obviously the transition. A lot of people's biggest weakness is macroing during engagements. Building more units or expanding. 'Cause it's really easy to get tunnel vision on this huge attack you've been setting up for the entire game. And you get this tunnel vision where you're splitting your Marines and you're burrowing your Widow Mines and you're picking tanks up with medevacs. And then before you know it, you have 2,000 minerals in the bank and nothing to defend a counterattack. So that's where your macro mechanics are really put to the test, is when you're fighting at the same time. You need to really work on not getting tunnel vision, trying not to hit that all army hotkey, and stemming units from across the map and whatnot.
I'll definitely do that one.
Yeah, I've been known to do that a couple of times too, especially when I get real excited. I'm about to win or something. I'm pushing in for a big kill, and I get real excited and I start overstimming my army or stimming Marines that are just coming out of the barracks all the way across the map. And also, like I said, it's real easy to get tunnel vision. Sometimes you're splitting Marines. It takes a lot of APM sometimes to split Marines and hit your barracks hotkey, make a whole round of Marines, and then go back to your army or build more supply depots or whatever.
Sure, it definitely takes a full second when you have enough.
Also, this is another key basic piece of information, which I'm sure you already know, but I kind of want to say it anyways. Another real fundamental basic of macro mechanics is you want to try your hardest to never have more than one unit producing from a certain building at a time, because anytime you queue up, 3 or 4 Marines on a single barracks, even if it's got a reactor, you've got 2 Marines just sitting there, 2 Marines worth of minerals just sitting there, not that you could be spending on another supply depot or spending on a turret, or 50 more minerals, you can just make another barracks.
No, definitely.
So if these 3 rules that I have written down on the Google Doc, if you can try your hardest to just master these, you're going to find yourself going a pretty far way. You'll eventually get to a point where if you never stop making SCVs, you're going to get to a point where you have so much money you don't even know how to spend it. And it looks like you're pretty good at spending your money so far, so that's a very good thing. I guess I haven't seen exactly how well you are at spending your money in an actual game during engagements and whatnot.
I think I do it pretty well. The problem I think I have is spending it in the right places. So not knowing when to transition into Ghost, not making the right unit composition to face what I've seen.
Yeah, and so that, a lot of that like game sense kind of stuff comes kind of with sheer volume of games. After you've played so many games and you've been in so many situations, you start seeing repeats of different situations. So you're like, oh, I've seen this before. It's entirely likely that he's going to, have ultras in a certain amount of time. And so that kind of makes me think of the next thing I want to talk about is scouting. Scouting is so important. It's not a macro mechanic necessarily, but it's one of those extremely fundamental parts of Starcraft. And not only just scouting, like sending an SCV to the opponent's base, but like understanding what you are seeing with that SCV. Like for instance, in a TvT, I like to send my SCV really early after I build my first supply depot. I'll rally that SCV to my opponent's base because TvT is really volatile. There's a lot of different scenarios that can happen in TvT. So for instance, I scout really early and I see he's got gas. I can click on his gas, and depending on how much he has mined, I can tell if he has gone gas first or if he's doing a Reaper expand. And you want to be able to identify that because that is so important, because once I guess I'm kind of talking about TvT now. We'll talk about the other matchups too, but if I scout that my opponent has gone gas first, that automatically means he has, a finite array of certain build orders he can do. Off of a gas first, you can do a Cloak Banshee build, you can do a Reaper Hellion build with a Banshee follow-up or with a Liberator follow-up. You can do a Reaper Hellion drop with a Cyclone follow-up. And so when I scout gas first, I know all these different things. If I see a second gas before a factory starts, then I know he's going to do some sort of cheeky, really tech-heavy, like a Reaper Hellion build, or some sort of like tank Viking all-in. And I usually like to get a bunker in a key position if I see 2 gases before the factory starts. So I'll get it, at my ramp into my main, or on maps like Prion Terrace. I'll get it, depending on whatever my expansion timing is. Sometimes I'll get a bunker on the low ground.
Okay.
And then also, the same thing goes for a Reaper expand. If I scout a Reaper expand, I know he's not going to be doing some one base tech build. He's not going to have siege tanks at my base at a super early time. I don't need to get a bunker because I know he's not doing some Reaper Hellion shenanigans. And you can do a lot of the same things off of a Reaper expand that you can do off of a gas first. It's just everything's so much later, obviously, because you set yourself back with all your tech by 400 minerals to get that expansion up.
Okay, I see that.
And then, give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, scouting is definitely one of those things that comes with the volume of games you play. Like I said already, once you've put yourself in all these different situations, or you're put into all these different situations by your opponents, you're going to start seeing things repeat. Every once in a while you'll run into a player that just does something, completely out of this world you've never seen. But once you start getting up into the higher leagues, where there's, a clear meta, scouting becomes really important, and also you just, are better at identifying things. Do you feel that that's something you have any trouble with? Like, when you send an SCV to your opponent's base, do you feel you have trouble, inferring what he's going to do based on what you see?
I definitely do. A lot of that's because I've just started really working on scouting. I made it the goal, staying turtled in my base until I had an army I was comfortable with. But that's not getting me much farther.
And that's sometimes the way to go. That's what I did too. I'm pretty sure that's how I got to gold as well. It was basically with just sheer numbers when it comes to army. Because like I said, usually up until around plat and diamond, usually the guy with the bigger army is going to win, because your micro mechanics haven't developed, to their full potential yet. Your opponent's probably not splitting his Marines or splitting his Banes extremely efficiently. So macro mechanics will get you a long, long way. So I guess what I would like to do now is, how do you feel about, I was thinking about showing you some of my replays, like showing you some of my favorite build orders. I've saved a couple of my recent games that we could go over, but also, I think I might actually rather do this. I'd kind of like to look at some of your replays. Did you happen to pick through any of your replays, like some specific ones you want me to see?
Let me take a look. Let's see. Try not to pick one I've done lately, or rather in the last couple of days. There's a couple AI games. It'd probably be easier for me to find these if I load up GG Tracker, because I only upload. I can sort by ladders in 1v1 and then go back to game.
So if you can, let's go ahead and, let's find a TvZ build. And let's start talking about TvZ. I know I've already talked a little bit about TvT, but I feel I have, I have the best understanding of TvT out of all the matchups.
Okay.
So I kind of want to save that one for last, just so I can spend a little bit more time on it.
Alright, do you want me to pull a win or a loss?
Good question. Let's go ahead and we'll do both. So just whichever one you find first, whichever replay you stumble upon first, let's do that one, regardless of win or loss.
Okay, let's see. This was 5 days ago. The time on it. I'll just go ahead and re-download that. Pop that in my others folder.
So what I'm going to try and do is I'm going to try and, obviously I'm going to be critical. I'm going to try and point out things that you could, improve on in any specific replay you show me. But I'll also try to let you know the things that you're doing well. And obviously you can improve on basically every aspect of the game. But I'll tell you, where I think you're on the right track, places where, I think you screwed up or whatever. Just try not to. Hopefully, I don't offend you if I say, "Oh, why you shouldn't have done this," blah blah blah.
No, sure. And I think this one is it's It's actually just it's a clear victory. I just happened to push at the right time. I didn't do it because of any specific scouting or fantasticness, but it's just a clear cut 11-minute game. I could just click this and watch with others.
Yep.
Give you control, right? It's just a lobby host.
Yeah, go ahead and give me lobby host. How do you feel about this map?
I actually really like Arena. I like 2 base maps. And I like not having to pull my army all the way across a large map.
Yeah. I like 2 base maps too, but this is actually one of the maps I have vetoed. I've just been cheesed on it too many times.
Is there a way to look at your camera angle, what you're looking at, or?
No.
Okay.
I don't know why they don't have that. They should, though. They should put that. They have it in co-op mode. They should put that in party replays as well as Archon mode.
But you do control the speed, so there's that.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and keep it at faster. I might speed it up through a couple different parts, but I want to make sure I have a good, I see everything.
So here, so recently I started working on learning 1-1-1. That's something I'm really comfortable with, is switching add-ons. So what I think what I do here is I usually go Reaper Fast Expand, then Barracks Factory, Barracks Starport, and that's how I get out my tech.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see how this develops, and I'll pause at certain points and speed it up or slow it down or whatever. But so far, so good, obviously. I'm glad you know how to do a Reaper Expand. It's literally the most basic build in Starcraft. For Terran, that is.
Yeah, doing useful things with the Reaper, that's another story, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, but the harassing with your first Reaper is definitely a good way to learn your multitasking skills. So this is just kind of getting a little nitpicky. I don't think you should have tried to attack that drone. You were finished building your barracks, and so he had like no SCV to harass. Also, I don't know how I feel about taking the command center on the high ground. I'm kind of greedy. I'll always take it on the low ground. Sometimes that bites me in the ass. I'll get 12 pooled. Like I said, I have this map vetoed, so I'm not sure. Maybe the meta is to put your CC on the high ground, because it does seem pretty common for Zergs to do cheeky plays on this map. Also, with your reactor on the barracks, sometimes if you're feeling ballsy or if it's a big map, you can place your barracks over 2 squares when you build it, so you don't have to lift it to build that reactor. Basically, you're just minimizing downtime on the barracks. And then back to the SCV thing I was talking about. In the early game especially, every SCV matters, obviously. You had 2 SCVs chasing that drone that wasn't harassing a building SCV. Those 2 SCVs could have been mining. You possibly could have started the CC 5 seconds earlier or whatever. And I'm looking at the buildings you have now. I'm not exactly sure how I feel about this build order. Never seen it before. I'm sure probably made it up. Or is this something that you copied from a build order?
So I've never. So other than working on the Reaper Fast Expanded, kind of copying that opener, this just came about through repetition on, hey, I have money, what can I spend? So that's something I made up.
So one thing I'm noticing right now is look at how much gas you have. You have 96 gas. It's still really early on into the game. You have nothing to spend your gas on. I mean, I guess you can start an add-on with this barracks that's about to finish. which I don't know if that might be what you do. But the thing about gas is, in the early game especially, you want to make sure that any gas you're mining, you're going to be spending relatively soon, because any SCVs you have mining gas could be mining minerals. And Terran being such a mineral heavy race, you know, you lose 1 mineral per second or something like that for every SCV that's not mining minerals.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you have all this gas that you're just not spending, you know, that's all minerals that you could have for, you know, a faster third CC, or, you know, more supply depots or whatever. And then back to this build order.
Definitely not attached to it. I'm trying to break away from it myself.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a combination of a 3 racks, like a 3 racks, the early makings of like a 3 rack stim timing that you would see in a TVP. And what that is you stop mining gas after 100 gas, 50 for the Reaper, and then 50 for the reactor. And then you take 2 more barracks and then restart your gas. And you take the SCVs off gas because you're delaying your factory when you're doing like a 3 rack stim timing. And so you want to get your second 2 barracks down as fast as possible.
Okay.
And I'm going to go ahead and start again. We'll see how this develops. So yeah, definitely I'll think more about, or I guess I'll look more at this build and see how I like it. I'll let you know right now that I'm not a huge fan so far, because of you have such an early second gas. You have so much gas that you're not spending. So you could be starting +1 and stim right now,
Okay.
but you're not.
Yeah, I don't think I put much salt into my gas. I think you hit a good point.
Game paused.
So one of the most important things about TvZ is identifying as early as possible if they're going to be a Ling Bane player or if they're going to be a Roach player. Basically, you need to figure out extremely early on what they are doing with their gas.
Okay.
And the thing is when you encounter gold and platinum players, you know, they're not going to be as they're not going to be as experienced as someone, say, like me or like a Master Zerg player, so they may not have, you know, good gas timing, so it may be, you know, pretty tricky sometimes to figure out what's going on. But let me go ahead and see what vision you have. So you do have vision of his 1 gas and his main. Do you know, here, I'm going to rewind it.
Game paused. Game resumed.
A Zerg's gas is going to tell you if they're going to be a Ling Bane player, or if they're going to be a Roach player, or if they're going to do some sort of early cheese. I need to back it up a little bit more, I think.
I think it might have just been the initial scout, and I didn't go back since.
SCV ready.
Okay, so yeah, see this SCV chasing the drone over here? I don't like that, because there's no reason for you to chase the drone that far out. That SCV's got minerals in its hands too. Especially in the upper leagues, you need to be really, really vigilant about, you know, making sure all your SCVs are mining as efficiently as possible.
Okay.
I'm gonna follow this Reaper, see exactly what you scout. So you didn't check one of the gases that is natural. You know, it could be possible he has something there. It doesn't look like you clicked on his gas in his main, so you don't know exactly how much gas he has mined. But if we pause it and we look, we see he has no drones on his gas right now. and that's pretty common for a Zerg that intends to take a fast third base. They'll only mine 100 gas, kind of similar to how I was explaining that TVP build. You only mine 100 gas, 50 for Reaper, 50 for Reactor. A Zerg will only mine 100 gas for speed, and that's usually a pretty good indication that they're not going to do some sort of roach cheese if you don't see any drones on the gas when you scout with your Reaper. Because if they are doing like a roach ravager cheese or early 2-base push, they're going to be mining gas. Definitely from the 1. They might even have a second gas this early on. Because obviously you need gas for not only speed, but for the roaches, and then upgrading them to ravagers.
Okay.
So try to get into the habit of whenever you scout with this Reaper, make sure you identify if he's still mining gas, how many drones he has on gas. Some players will leave 1 drone on gas. They'll take 2 off after 100. Just so that way it lets them react smoothly to if they see some sort of like cheeky tank play, they're able to grab a roach warren faster than if they had to restart gas, altogether.
Okay.
So get into the habit of identifying how many drones are on gas and click on the extractor and see how much gas has been mined. So if you notice, you can click on a geyser and you can see how much gas it has. You can click on a blank geyser and you can see every geyser starts out with 2,000 minerals. And when you click on his extractor, you can see he has 1868 remaining. So that means he's mined roughly 100 gas. I'm thinking he accidentally mined 32 more. He probably didn't intend to do that. He probably wanted to stop at 1900 just for his speed. But little things like that are mistakes that everybody makes. Even sometimes I'll go over the amount of gas I want.
Okay.
Game resumed.
So being very purposeful with the gas and watching for people to do the same.
Gas tells you everything, kind of. Not so much in TVP. Pylon count is more important in TVP, but in TVT and TvZ especially, at least this is how I see it, the gas geysers say 1,000 words. And like I said, I have this map vetoed, so I do kind of like that you're holding down the watchtower. I do hope that you go in there with a second scout with the Reaper. It's not a big deal if you lose the Reaper. You just want to make sure you see something with it. You want to identify gases, if they got an early roach warren, if they're going an early layer. You also want to make sure you're checking their third. Third timing is really important in TvZ. I like your micro with the Reaper so far. It's definitely a smart idea to throw grenades in front of you when you're running away. Okay, and I'm gonna pause it right here.
Paused.
So you made a tech lab on this reactor. You made a tech lab on the barracks, but you're not using them yet. Whenever you build something, you should have the intention to use it right away. So, if you say you build an NG bay, you should have the intention to either start upgrades the second that NG bay finishes, or a turret or something. So when you finish this tech lab on the factory, you may be transferring it to the starport. I'm not sure if you do that. But if you don't, you should be building a tank or something right off the wall. Obviously a tank since you have a tech lab, but you should be building a tank ASAP, as soon as the tech lab finishes. Same thing with the tech lab on the racks. You should either be immediately making a rodder and or stim. Because anytime you build something and then don't use it, basically the time it took an SCV to build that structure, you lost all of that mining time. And anytime your buildings aren't producing something, you're losing, precious time that you could be, building more units. So let's go ahead and see what happens next. Okay, and you do start a tank relatively soon. Could have been sooner, is basically what I'm saying. And see, now you're not using your starport for anything. You're not starting an add-on on it. You're not starting a medevac or a Viking. It's just kind of sitting there. And basically right now, as it's sitting there, you wasted all of that time that the SCV could have been mining, but was building a starport instead. So one of the things when it comes to macro is, and good at identifying his third with your Reaper. That was good. Around 5 minutes after you've identified their third, right now is kind of a good time to, I guess, scan. Sometimes I won't scan if I see that third. This is I guess a tiny bit late for a third, so I might scan, just because I might be feeling a little bit nervous, like what if they're going for a 2.5 base muta build, so sometimes I'll scan the main, see if there's a really early spire, or see if layer is building around this time. Let's see what else. And now we see he's got 2 gases at his natural. I'm not exactly sure what he plans on using the gas for. He's got 400 right now, so it's possible that he's just, I don't know, bad. he doesn't know himself what he's going to be spending the gas on. So sometimes you can scan either the main to see if they're, trying to do a quick tech build, or you can, if you can't get your Reaper into the natural, you can scan the natural to see how many gases they have. So essentially in TvZ, unless you do a really good job of scouting, around this time, 5 minutes or so, you want to scan. And like I said, a lot of the times I don't, because I'm greedy. I like those mules. But this is a crucial point in TvZ, because this is right when you need to identify if they're going roaches, or if they're going lings, or if they're going, Nidus network or 2-base muta. And so yeah, I feel like I'm starting to ramble, so feel free to tell me to shut up if I'm going on for too long, repeating myself and whatnot.
Game resumed.
And I like how you have the Marines spread out. They can keep overlords away. Obviously, this one Marine should be on the watchtower. He's going to get killed anyways. Okay. And he's got a Baneling nest, so this must be what he's banking up all the gas for. And he goes for a Roach Warren. So sometimes players will do this. They'll go Banelings kind of for like defense, but then they plan on doing roaches for the main bulk of their army. Okay, this is one thing I used to do a lot. These turrets, you just got turrets, 3 of them. If you would have just waited 100 minerals, that would have been, you could have taken a 6-minute third. And 6-minute third is roughly standard. 6 minutes is around when I like to take my third in TVP. Sometimes I'll take it a little bit sooner, a little bit later. Same goes for TVT. Usually I like to get a third in TvZ around 4.5 minutes sometimes. Excuse me, but these turrets, they're basically worthless. Nothing you scouted told you needed turrets. At least I don't think so. I'm not finding a spire anywhere. I'm not finding...
Sure. I don't think I even saw the layer mutating.
Yeah, and so yeah, these turrets are kind of finicky, just because sometimes they'll really save your ass, and then other times they really won't. Like, for instance, right now, I don't think it, like, screws you over. But That's 300 minerals. You know, that's either 2 more barracks or a CC. And in TvZ, it's more common to get a 3rd base before you build 2 more racks. 3 racks is the standard right now on 2 bases. 5 racks is the standard on 3 bases, assuming you have add-ons on all of them.
Okay.
I like how you're starting. You have +1 going. That's good. I just don't like the turrets. And sometimes what I like to do is I like to take my 3rd, and then I'll take double NG bays, and then after I start upgrades, I'll take my 2 extra racks, taking me up to a total of 5. Obviously, every game's going to be different based on what your opponent's doing. And one thing, now that I have it paused, one thing I want to point out: neither of your CCs are producing SCVs right now. One thing I really want you to focus on, once you start playing ladder games, after we're done talking and doing all this, I really want you to focus on never stop making SCVs. Even if at the end of a game you have 100 SCVs and you lost because you only had 40 Marines and 160 SCVs, that's okay. Up until platinum and diamond and whatnot, try not to worry about winning. In silver, gold, and most of platinum, the main focus should be your mechanics. Macroing up, spending your money, never getting supply blocked. And I don't know, I have the game paused, so who knows, you could start SCVs in a second. But that's just something I'm noticing as I have it paused.
Sure.
And if we look at the units tab, he's got 41 drones to your 38 SCVs, so you're keeping up. You're not that far behind in workers, and plus with mules, those give you a huge economy boost. Also, you're at 17 of 14, which isn't bad on the main. I still have my main oversaturated every now and then, but try to get into the habit of grabbing a few SCVs every now and then, and moving them to your next base. You should have a 3rd started yesterday, which you don't. You should either have a 3rd or you should have 2 more barracks. You almost lost a huge chunk of Marines to a Bane. And as we can see, look where your minerals are at. You're kind of slacking on macro. I guess obviously I don't need to point that out because that's why I'm helping you out. But hopefully, it helps to have someone else point that out. That 500 minerals, you could be starting at 3rd right now.
The one I desperately need.
Exactly, and like I said, you should have started a 3rd yesterday, especially in TvZ, because Zergs are going to be expanding so aggressively. You want to expand just as aggressively, maybe a little bit less aggressively because you're not Zerg. But like I said, 6 minutes in TvZ I think is around the latest you should be taking a 3rd, and that's usually after you've done like some sort of like tech build, some sort of Hellbat, stim timing or something. But in TvZ, just keep in mind that it's always better to get a 3rd sooner than later. I guess, as with everything, every game's different, so sometimes it'll be a bad idea to get a 3rd. But you'll fall behind extremely fast without a 3rd in TvZ. And then from here, it looks like you just have to win, which that is good. You don't have combat shields. That should have been started immediately after stim. Every single time, every game. No exceptions, every matchup. Combat shield starts the second stim finishes. And that's just a habit you need to get into. After playing more games, you'll start to develop that internal clock, and you'll know kind of internally how long it takes for stim to complete, and then you can click back to your base, start combat shields.
You put I assume you put this tech lab on the same hotkey you put the rest of your upgrades.
That's actually a good idea. I don't do that, but and I don't know if other players do that, but that is a really good idea. It's just it would be another tab you would have to do. But if that works for you, I definitely say do that. I don't personally do that, but I might think about getting into that habit.
It might just help me be aware of when they're not doing anything.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I guess I'm kind of just looking.
I stemmed all army right there.
Yeah. And so one thing about this game, you made tanks. I think you could have done a better job identifying early on that he wasn't going for early roaches, and widow mines are heaps better against Banes and Zerglings, especially against players who aren't very good at splitting off, one or two Zerglings from their army to trigger widow mines.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's good to get a tank for defense if you're feeling a little bit nervous, but just get one or two tanks. But I typically, once I've identified if they're going Ling Bane off the get-go, I'll get widow mines in. If I identify they're going roaches, I'll go tanks. And let me see. And earlier when we were around like 5.5 to 6 minutes, that is the key point where you have to identify what they're doing. If they're going to be massing roaches or if they're going to be massing Ling Banes. Because Ling Banes, unless you have like godly splits and medevac micro with your tanks,
Sure.
Ling Bane is just going to get right on top of siege tanks. Unless you are, you select all your tanks and individually attack Banes.
No, the Banelings, Banelings do me in pretty well. They do.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and move on to the next game. Let's look at a game where you lose.
Okay. Mind if I take a quick break so I can use the bathroom?
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Alright, I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back.
Okie doke.
So a replay where I lost.
Yeah, TvZ where you lose.
Okay.
And it can be a loss to a cheese, an all-in, or a longer game. We'll probably keep going over all different kinds of replays you have. And also, I'm writing down some more notes / thoughts on the Google Docs if you want to read it. It's kind of things I explained during that last replay. I'm just kind of writing them down.
I know what that one was. Let's see. I'm debating the replays because there's some where I was definitely panicky. I was too excited about it, and I let that get to me. There's a Nidus Worm loss that happened a bunch of times.
So one thing about crisis management, those situations where you're getting vein busted and you start to panic, you start to pull SCVs.
Right.
As I keep saying, mining efficiency is so important. Macro is so important. Making sure you have money and you're spending your money is so important. So you want to be really conservative in every situation with the amount of SCVs you pull off your line. You never, and I mean never, by any means ever want to pull off every single SCV unless you absolutely have to. And you're going to win and you're not going to lose, all of your SCVs to 2 Reaper grenades. So even if you have to pull, 12 of your 15 SCVs, you always want to have some mining. And as a Terran, if you have SCVs mining gas, those are typically SCVs you want to pull first. Because you can build Marines and Hellions to defend early things, and you can build Widow Mines with only 25 gas, so you don't need a whole lot of gas early on in games if you're getting cheesed or all-in or something. A lot of the times, if I scout a cheese, I'll just stop I almost said biting, I don't know why I said biting, but if I scout a cheese or something, I'll stop mining gas completely sometimes, because I'll put those SCVs back on minerals, because I know I'm going to need as many Marines as possible. I'm going to need to make sure I'm making supply depots as the supply depots at my walls get broken down. And also, you don't want to hold an attack and have 700 gas that you can't spend because you had 6 SCVs mining gas while you were trying to defend a Reaper cheese or a Baneling Bus cheese. Gas is so important. Like I keep saying, not only scouting your opponent's gas, but also managing your own gas.
Okay. I can see it. So, which would you prefer? A normal loss? Or always...
Let's watch them all, man. Let's watch all the TvZs you can find.
Okay. Well, we'll start this one since we're talking crisis management. Make you the lobby host. All yours.
Quick question. I noticed you have the Spartan School clan tag. Are you the guy who came from Halo, or did you just join that guy's clan?
So he started his videos, then I started mine, because he started his, and so we've been kind of talking and collaborating a bit. We're actually going to watch one of his. I have a match with him queued up next after this one.
Okay. And then, are you ready? Can I go ahead and start?
Yeah, all on you. Just mute myself for 1 second.
Microphone muted. Microphone activated.
Alright, I'm back.
Okie doke. So do you know about, quick question, do you know about mineral stacking?
No, never heard of it.
Okay, I'll probably have to demonstrate you to show you what I'm talking about. Mineral stacking is something that was a lot more common in Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm because you only started with 6 SCVs instead of 12. And your SCVs have a tendency to bounce off. I don't know if you've ever noticed, but they'll bounce off of a mineral that an SCV is already mining.
You talking about changing the spawn point from the rally point from the command center to mineral patches with only one SCV on it?
So, yeah, but also you want to keep in mind, if you notice, some mineral patches are closer to your command center than others. And it's kind of a minute difference, especially in Legacy of the Void, but I still do it mainly because it's habit from Heart of the Swarm, and just because I feel like there is a difference, even however minute it may be. But basically, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 mineral patches that are usually closer to your CC than all the rest. You want to make sure you have 2 SCVs mining on those mineral patches. And sometimes when you rally an SCV to one of those mineral patches that already has another SCV mining on it, it will bounce off and go to a different mineral patch. And even though that it only takes a second or two for it to go to a different mineral patch, that's lost mining time. And we want to be really nitpicky, real snobby about mining time. So basically, if you see an SCV start to bounce off a mineral and go to a different one, you want to select it and spam right-click on the mineral patch closest to your base. I'm going to have to demonstrate that to you so you can see what I mean. But it's one of those little tricks that Korean pro Starcraft players kind of made into something everyone who's decent does.
Okay.
Anyways. We'll go ahead and
Game
resume
resumed.
this.
So I believe we're going to see 2 Niduses here, and they absolutely wreck me.
Yeah, Niduses can be tricky, real tricky. And those are the kind of things you want to scout as early as possible. Let's see. And especially on a map like this, where it's so easy for a Zerg to take a gold base, even sometimes 2 gold bases, I usually like to play a little bit more defensively on this map because of that. I try to get my gold base up and running as fast as possible, but I'll usually, opt to go for early tanks as opposed to, Hellions or something on this map. So far, so good. Standard Reaper expand. And again, so you attack this drone with an SCV. You don't necessarily need to. I guess it gives him notifications, might distract him a little bit. But this SCV is not doing a whole lot right now. If he were to go attack that SCV building the command center, that's when you want to send an SCV to defend.
Yeah, that's something that gets me occasionally. I lose that SCV building, whatever.
And hopefully you know this, but if you select the SCV building and hit T, that's how you can stop it from building. Or I don't know what your hotkey setup is, but there should be a cancel hotkey.
Is that the X or the circle X?
It is whatever you do. Don't hit escape, because I think that might cancel the building. But it's the circle X. It should say halt.
Okay. I don't. Yeah, it doesn't give me the tooltip right now. But yeah, I see it. I have it to EU. Okay. I think I knew that, but I've never gotten to the habit of using it.
So yeah, if you see a drone attacking your SCV building, the command center, you want to hit U as fast as you can and try to get the first attack off on the drone, because the SCV will beat a drone that's not microed.
So I kind of just let him have this for a minute let him focus on it.
And you should be starting an orbital command instead of SCVs off this natural. And also I think those 2 Marines you have could defend this actually.
What did I wait for?
Game paused.
So did you happen to click on that roach warren and identify what it was?
I think I knew Roach Warren, yes. What I missed was the significance of the early layer.
Okay. And then also, I don't think you checked the gas at all, because sometimes they'll get enough gas just to make a couple roaches, and then they'll switch into like a Ling Bane style. They'll take their drones off gas after they have enough for a certain amount of roaches. Take a third, behind their early roach attack, and then they'll retake gas and go into Ling Bane. So basically, I just wrote this not too long ago on the Google Docs. You should be thirsty for knowledge, especially when it comes to scouting. Like, you should feel uncomfortable when you feel like you don't have sufficient information, or you feel like you lost your Reaper too soon.
Still no orbital. Oversaturated
Yes.
on the main.
Yep, and you're not making SCVs on the main. You're also not building anything from the barracks. So on this map,
Game paused.
once I get my natural established, I'll pull 12 workers from my main and just fully saturate my natural right away on the gold.
Okay. Nice.
And also, mules don't mine any faster on gold patches than they do blue. So you never need to decide between gold or blue for your mules.
Okay, so should I be dropping the mules on the blue, or just it doesn't matter?
I would do it on the blue, especially after transferring them, 12 drones to the gold. They're safer in your main. They're not going to die to a ling run by in your natural.
Game resumed.
And since you transferred, all the SCVs to your natural, you're going to be, undersaturated in your main.
Game
So if we
paused.
notice right here, he doesn't have speed. When a Zerg doesn't have speed by this time, should set off some red flags, because it means they're spending all their gas on something. And in this case, a Nidus network and roaches, obviously. So you need to figure out as soon as possible, every single TvZ, you need to figure out if they get speed and when. It's so important.
Okay.
Game resumed.
So another thing, I like how you have this Marine off to the right over here looking for overlords. I like to put Marines like in corners of my bases, here and stuff, and here. And that lets you push out any or intercept any overlords that are trying to like sacrifice themselves into your base to get scouting info.
That would have definitely been a game changer, getting one Marine on that corner.
Yep, and that is the most common spot for a Nidus too. So basically, one of the reasons you lose is because you didn't see the Nidus, you don't know where it is yet, and you haven't reacted. Nidus worms, you need to get a surround on them ASAP. all your SCVs, all your army, not all your SCVs, but a ton of SCVs, ton of army units. That Liberator should be coming back home. You should be planting it right on top of the Nidus.
Should have had my tanks moved up.
Yep, and this was a real cheeky build by him. You definitely could have reacted a lot better. But I do admit, Nidus plays like this are super hard to hold. But they are holdable.
I think this was actually the first Nidus I'd seen on the ladder. Which is odd since most of my games, more than half of my games are Zerg.
So one thing I noticed, it looks like you really wanted to get a wall off at your natural, which it is, you know, pretty normal to want a wall off, especially against Zerg. But you kind of did that thing where you built more supply depots than you needed at a specific time. Before the Zerg, let me rewind it.
Game ended.
Before they took everything out.
Game paused.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, before the Zerg kills all these supply depots up in the upper right, you know, you're 40 supply ahead of yourself, 41 supply ahead of yourself. These depots up in the top right that I just pinged, those should be the ones at your wall. You don't need these 4 at the wall. That could be your third.
Okay.
And then yeah, basically you just got Zerg. I like that you're still making SCVs. Ooh, you didn't need to lose that CC. You could have lifted it, but you know we all make those kinds of mistakes.
I didn't know when to tap out here.
Yeah, sometimes you don't.
Too many SCVs lost, I think 23 to 50. He's on 2 golds. Yeah, this was it.
Yeah, and you did know he was on 2 golds.
Game resumed.
Ooh, and the Muta switch. Yeah, it kind of gets me sometimes too when I invest so much into like tanks and like defending this early push, and then they come in with mutas right afterwards. That's one of the downsides to this map. I do really like this map, but this map is definitely, in my opinion, a little bit Zerg favored, just because of the way Zerg's macro works, and they're able to expand more aggressively. Again, I don't know how I feel about your build order.
I did throw it out the window recently, but that leaves me with something I'm not comfortable with, and I'm trying to get back to comfort.
Yeah. Let me see if I have any other thoughts so far. Yeah, you kind of, like I said, you kind of just got Zerged. I don't think you scouted well enough. You should have been more thirsty for information. You know, you saw the Roach Warren, you got tanks, which was the proper response. But really, you should have had maybe like an just a random SCV sent to his base or something, or a scan to see, you know, if he was just going for roaches or if he was going to do some sort of you know, Ravager attack. I think you could have gotten away with a scan, and you could have seen that Nidus network pretty early. Mm-hmm. And that would have, you know, you probably would have been a little bit more vigilant about, you know, making sure you have eyes on all aspects of your base. Another thing I like to do, so as opposed to having a Marine over here, you'll notice on most maps, they all have like the dark spot of your base that you can't see. So after you build your wall sometimes, or even before you build your wall, want to spread your buildings out a little bit more than you do. You have them all kind of clumped up over here in one corner. If you can, you want to, put supply depots here, or put a supply depot here, maybe put one of your racks, to the right of your CC. You want to put supply depots in different, little spots all around your base. You want to gain as much vision of your side of the map as possible. I like to even sometimes have an SCV out on the map building depots in random spots, especially in TvT. I like to put depots in these kind of spots in the corners because I can see drops that are coming at super wide angles, and they'll have Marines in the main pathways and whatnot. Have an SCV or Marine at watchtowers. That makes me think of another thing. Watchtowers are really important in this game. You want to be fighting over watchtowers the entire game. You always want to be sending 1 or 2 Marines to a watchtower or a Hellion or something. Watchtowers will save your ass a lot more often than not.
That was one of my, I guess that's a question I have about drops and vision. So that's a good place for, there's 3 units out on the map. If I'm trying to drop behind the mineral line, there's a medevac and I want to say 8 Marines. But if we ever meet force on force and he just takes his entire army and walks up my ramp and I'm short, 1 medevac, 8 Marines, a Reaper and 2 more Marines on vision, am I just at a natural disadvantage, or the advantage so great with that vision that it just makes up for not having my full force?
So yeah, good question. In my opinion, I think having that vision, that map presence, that vision of what's going on, outweighs, that slight disadvantage. Marines are pretty expendable, so are, single SCVs. You never want to be, especially in the early game, you never want to be, sending an SCV to a Xel'Naga tower right as the game starts. Never do that. But when you're on 2-3 bases, it's okay to have an SCV sitting at a watchtower or something. As long as, the SCV is doing something worthwhile, it's okay to lose mining time. You never want to have just an idle SCV, obviously. You just always want your SCVs to be purposeful.
Okay.
And the thing is Defender's advantage is so strong. If you have, all these pings I have in the middle of the map, not the ones in the main base, but if you have, Marines set up, cutting the map in half essentially, you're going to be seeing a push come. So if you sent that medevac, all the way around.
You cut off, were you?
Say that one more time?
Oh, yeah, I said you cut off. Were you talking, or were you just pinging?
Oh, I was talking. I guess I wasn't holding the button down. So, basically what I was saying is if you have a Marine here in the middle, even if you have a drop up here in the top right, coming to his third, if you have a Marine here in the middle, you see his army coming across the map, the defender's advantage is super strong. You can opt to lift this CC on the low ground and evacuate all of the SCVs if you need to, or you can set up a defensive position with all your tanks here. It's kind of depends on what your Marine sees.
Okay.
So basically, short answer, no, I don't think you're at a natural disadvantage just by having a couple army units out on the map. And let's go ahead and move on to the next game.
Okay. I have that one queued up, ready to go, so it'd be a quick turnaround.
Wait, say that one more time?
I have it ready to go, so just gotta...
Oh, okay. Huh, I just got a weird error.
Yeah, same here. Let's try again. No server is currently available. Please try again. Huh.
Weird.
Huh.
I guess try a different replay.
That's weird. Let's see. I have another one. Set central protocol and total shipyard. If that doesn't work, I can just do a quick restart of.
Is that an older replay?
No, these are all in the last 5 days.
Oh, okay, because I was just thinking, because after each patch or whatever, sometimes the old replays you're not able to watch anymore.
Alright, we do a restart.
Wow, super weird. I'll go ahead and restart Starcraft as well, just to be safe. And I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick.
Okay. Okay, while we wait for him to return, let's take a look at these notes. Thirst for knowledge, looks like scouting and gas management are huge weaknesses of mine. Absolutely unexcusable weaknesses that I need to work on. Let's see.
Wow, that's so weird.
Well, let's look at the game. Let's look at a game we've already tried. Let's see if it loads.
Huh, so let's go ahead and do this. Go into your options, and then go to language and region. And what preferred game server do you have it set to?
Best match.
Put it on, you're central, right? Put it on central. I think it's saying that because it looks like the Western server, US Western servers are down, because I'm not seeing it as an option here.
Okay, let's try again. Eastern.
So weird. Go ahead and try open the replay solo. Like click watch with others, but like go into the replay lobby solo.
Wow, nope, it's still an issue. Going back and forth between these servers. Is Starcraft down?
I'm not sure.
Can we create a custom game? No maps found. We could go. Probably just jump onto Europe. It would work for these purposes.
Yeah, but I'm not exactly sure. Do you know if your same like replays show up on the Europe server?
I just have to move them over, I think.
Okay, let's try that. I don't know what our ping will be, but I guess
yeah.
If we're just watching replays, it shouldn't matter much. But if we do like some more gameplay, I'd like to
come on back, yeah.
NA, hopefully.
Sure. Had to go to Europe for custom games and mods the other day because Salt was broken. And I don't have you added as a friend here, so add friend.
My BattleNet email is just my name at Gmail. Here, I'll type it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, I have like no games played on Europe because I'm kind of a ping snob. I hate playing with anything over like 70.
I almost never use it, but there are specific instances where I need it. Okay. Did you get anything?
Oh shoot, I was alt tab, sorry. Yeah, new friend request.
So this is one I not only lost, but I fell apart.
Okay.
So we actually randomly queued up against each other in this one. This was not purposeful. This was ladder, but this is the Spartan School Halo guy you were asking about.
Okay. Here, let's go ahead. You forgot to give me lobby host. Let's go ahead and restart it.
Yep.
Whoops.
You're fine. Oh, can I not do that when you're leader? Oh, okay. I guess I need to be leader again. And all right, ready when you are.
Alrighty.
Oh, can we pause for one moment? I have a work call coming in.
Game paused.
Yep.
1 second.
Microphone muted.
Okay, I'm back.
Alrighty. So, I'm reading right now that there's scheduled maintenance on the North America server starting 1 minute ago.
Oh, that's right. It's 2 hours. So I guess we're here for a minute.
Yep.
Game resumed.
really didn't have the APM for that conversation.
So one thing you might want to think about doing, it looks like you're kind of spamming a little bit, but just think about how I was mentioning earlier that it's easier to go from 40 to 60 than 0 to 60. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm a high APM spam player. Like if you look at the other guy's APM, he's spamming like crazy right now. He's got 300, almost went up to 400 APM there for a minute.
You know, it was interesting because I got a little flack on it for Reddit, but I found that when I started spamming, purposely spamming, and then letting my spamming get in the way of my production, that my spinning efficiency went really high, even if it wasn't in the right places. So it definitely helped me stay on track.
That's good.
So you recommend, when do you recommend an SCV scout before a Reaper scout?
Game paused.
Kind of depends. In TVP, I'll usually SCV scout after the barracks finishes, so like right when you start the Reaper. In TvZ, I don't usually SCV scout unless I'm doing a build that doesn't call for a Reaper, and in that case, I'll usually scout, you know, same time after the barracks finishes with an SCV. But if you're doing a Reaper expand in TvZ, you don't necessarily need to SCV scout. In TVP, and it's kind of, you know, it's different every time for me.
Okay.
Game resumed.
But after the barracks finishes is my answer to that question.
Game
So,
paused.
and again here, I'm assuming you're going to start a tech lab on the barracks, but you're not spending gas efficiently. You know, you have all this gas, you're taking a second gas, but you're not starting a factory, you're not starting an NG bay to get a fast +1.
Okay. You gotta be more purposeful with that gas.
Yeah, let's see what you do. So that's good. You got your factory at 100 gas. But see, now your gas is going to start climbing, especially since you got a second one and you're not spending it on anything. And if you notice, see how he's only got one drone mining gas right now? That's something you need to identify.
Okay. And that tells me he's being really greedy. He's Ling Bane.
Especially, I mean, I guess it doesn't necessarily imply Ling Bane. It just lets you know that he's not doing like a, you know, Roach Ravager cheese, or he's not Banely busting you. So right here, you got that Reaper into his base. You didn't see a Roach Warren. You didn't see him mining a bunch of gas. I wouldn't have made this tank you're making. I guess you can never really go wrong with, you know, at least, you know, just one defensive tank or whatever. But I would have opted for Widow Mines. I probably would have switched my factory onto a reactor and got either Widow Mines or Hellions, and then put my barracks on the tech lab instead of the factory. And started combat shields at the same time as stem.
Okay. That's the thing I had never done. I hadn't done at this point. It got outside of my Marine tank medevac. I think I'm full turtle at this point.
Yeah, you should be starting a third soon. So this is around one of those critical times, around the 5-minute mark. You really need to identify what's going on. I mean, you know he's got a third, which is good, but you don't know what he's doing tech-wise. So it would be, you know, it wouldn't be a bad idea to scan. Or if you had opted to go for Hellions, you could sack a Hellion or two to get scouting information. And there's the scan. So you see the spire. Let's see how you react to the spire.
I don't even think I saw it. I didn't even click.
Oh, okay.
I don't think I knew it was coming.
You have those turrets, which is good because he's going mutas. But again, you got the turrets blindly. You got them without. You know, without absolutely needing to. You could have delayed those turrets for a while.
A couple supply blocks.
One of the good things about, I guess one of the good things about going tanks against a Ling Bane player, because this guy's obviously playing Ling Bane with mutas. One of the good things about getting tanks against a player like this is it lets you get Thors pretty fast since you have a tech lab on your factory. And Thors really help against mutas. And then after the mutas, the Thors really help against ultras if you don't have ghosts.
No, Thors would have been fantastic, knowing what's coming up.
So typically, against a Ling Bane muta player, I'll go Thors because they help against mutas, and then when they inevitably transition into ultras, the Thors are a good counter, or they're not. I guess I don't know. Good might not be the best word. They're a sufficient counter to ultras if you have the right amount.
Should I be? Go ahead. Sorry.
So I'll go Thors. Like, Thors will be my answer for ultras against a Ling Bane muta player, and then ghosts are my answer to ultras against Ravager, Roach, Hydra players. So one thing you could have done here, what I like to do when mutas are in my base like that, you see how you like you know, attack command your Marines and medevacs over to the mutas, and your medevacs kind of go, you know, they're air units, so they go a more direct route.
Yeah.
I'm kind of assuming he's about to kill these two medevacs. What I like to do is I'll send my Marines, you know, back into my base, but I'll grab half of my Marines and put them in my medevacs, and then I'll boost my medevacs towards his mutas. And do you know how to make your medevacs drop Marines while they're still moving?
Is that when you hit drop and you click the medevac?
Yeah, so that's what I would have done in this situation. I would have loaded up those two medevacs, boosted them towards his mutas, dropped them while they're moving, and then have the rest of my Marines, you know, going the natural route up the ramp.
Okay.
Yeah, mutas can be a pain. Every Terran, even all the good Terrans still lose to muta harass sometimes.
Yeah. He does a pretty good job with the harassment. I go full turtle turrets. I can't even get them all up.
So, one thing I really like to do, I guess this is just because I'm confident, you know, I consider myself a decent player, and I feel confident being able to defend things like muta harass and drops and whatnot. But what I really like to do is, instead of turrets, so let's count your turrets. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 3 of those are building. That's 900 minerals. That could be, a CC and 2, 3, 4 barracks or whatever. That could be a whole nother, round of Marines plus more supply depots plus more barracks or whatever. Sometimes you have to get turrets if they're committing super hard to mutas. But a lot of the times what I like to do is I'll get sensor towers. Sensor towers are only, I think they're only 100 minerals and 150 gas or something. And to me, I feel like a sensor tower is, 1 or 2 sensor towers is a better investment than 900 minerals into all these turrets.
Okay.
Because if a Zerg, sees all these turrets, he's like, well, I'm not going to make any more mutas. And you just wasted, 900 minerals on turrets that may have deflected as mutas, but, after they deflect as mutas, they're not doing anything. At least with, sensor towers, you can see the angles from which he's coming in from. Sensor towers make your opponent less likely to, come in at certain angles. Typically people don't want to be seen in sensor tower circles. So sensor towers can do a lot in terms of mind games and just, giving you awareness of where your opponent's going to be coming from. And you can choose to put, Marines in spots where you think they might come in and try to snipe your sensor tower or whatever. But just keep that in mind. I'm not saying make sensor towers over turrets every single time. But sometimes, the 300 gas it takes to make 2 sensor towers is a better investment than the 1,000 minerals it takes to build 10 turrets,
Okay, I can definitely see it. And I could have used Marines instead of the turrets and fended that off. And okay.
Yeah, as long as you're not hitting the select all army button, you have a pretty well set up defense at your ramp at the 3rd, He's not going to easily get up there with a bunch of lings. And as long as you have, some Marines to defend the tanks from the mutas, you can put a chunk of Marines in your natural, a chunk of Marines, up by your main, another chunk of Marines near your 3rd mineral line. And that's where the select all army hotkey really hurts you, is because it's obviously going to group all your units into a place you may or may not need them.
Now, I think the reason, and my reasoning, good or bad, behind these, was I wanted to move out, and the harassment kept me at home. So I wanted to secure my home from mutas so I could push out against whatever he had. But I think it ended up going too far, and it wasn't even effective enough. Like, one turret didn't end up stopping. It had to have more than one turret in the place he came in at.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not telling you to make sensor towers every single time. Sometimes you do need to set up a turret ring. But sensor towers sometimes will dissuade someone from, playing a super drop heavy style or a muta heavy style. I know it, in TvT it makes me not want to drop as often, unless I do some sort of like cheeky bait. Like I'll put 2 empty medevacs in a place where he can see it in his sensor tower. Then he'll fly all his Vikings over to one side of the base, and then I boost my medevacs, through the sensor tower range onto the other side of his base. Sensor towers are really underrated in my opinion. They're one of the best buildings you can build, I think.
I have enjoyed them, I just hadn't used them until LTV. Did they exist? They existed, right?
Yeah.
I just see a lot more of them now.
They were, crucial in early Heart of the Swarm TVP because blink all-ins were so common. And the sensor tower would tell you exactly where they're trying to blink in, or like if they're trying to set up some sort of like fake blink in where they make you think they're about to blink in on one side, and then on the other side they hit you with, a bunch of blink stalkers at your natural or whatever.
Sure. get you out of position.
Game resumed.
Let's go ahead and keep watching this. General rule of thumb, in my opinion, in TvZ, you always want to go double upgrades. I mean, I guess sometimes you don't have the economy to do double NG bays, or you just can't really afford it. So, you always want to at least start one upgrade if you can, but I make sure I do double NG bay just about every single TvZ. Oh, wait, never mind. Disregard what I said. One of them's not researching +2 though, so that's a little bit of a detriment. And it looks like you have a bad habit of not starting combat shield. This is the second time I've seen you do this.
It is.
Oh, man, just started it. But try to get into the habit, like I said earlier, start it immediately after stim.
Game paused.
Here, I'm gonna pause and turn down my in-game volume real quick. When stuff is fighting, I have a hard time hearing you talk. Alright. So he did commit really heavily to mutas. So, the turrets could be arguably a good idea, all the turrets you have.
The 5 or 6 more I'm putting up right now.
Yeah.
I keep handing him medevacs. That's just bad control.
Once you identify he's committing this hard to mutas, you need to start Thors, because not only are the Thors going to counter the mutas, the Thors are going to help you out immensely, like I said, when they inevitably transition to ultras, because any good Zerg is working towards those hive tech units, ultras and infestors and whatnot.
I didn't really like seeing that.
Oh man, this flank from behind with the Ling Bang is going to be epic, I can already tell.
I know it's there. I'm trying to keep the tanks between me and it, but...
Ooh, you could have taken a lot less damage and done a lot more damage with decent splits there.
I mean, the banelings, I think, were the bane. And they usually are for me.
Yeah. Do you, have you practiced, like, marine splitting at all?
A little bit. I'm much better at it in marine split trainer than I am in actual practice.
Game.
So typically the way I think of splitting marines, do you have a specific way you like doing it? Like, do you like patrol split, or do you like manually split, right click, A click?
So I select all the marines, I attack away from the banelings, and then I spread them to the left and to the right as they move.
Okay, so what I like to, when I do splits, what I like to think of is doing like a figure 8 with my mouse in a sense, and this kind of goes back to earlier when I was talking about practicing boxing your units in different directions, because that's how you're gonna best, in my opinion, that's the best way to split your marines. And what I mean by like a figure 8, so you'll select all your marines by whichever top left to bottom right, or top right to bottom left boxing method. Select all of them, and then, like you said, move them away, and then you kind of like wave your mouse around in like an infinity symbol, figure 8. You'll drag from top right to bottom left, and then you'll take, after you select the whole army, after you've moved them, you let go, and then start from the top left to the bottom right, only selecting half your army, and then start from the top right again to the bottom left. Kind of wish I could demonstrate this to you, but do you kind of get what I'm trying to say about the figure 8 movement with boxing?
I think I do. I think I can, something to work on.
Yeah, maybe we'll do some marine splitting practice. I can see how good you are at it, and we'll do like micro trainer or whatever the like unit tester. Anyway, let's go ahead and see what happens.
Game resumed.
So I know you've been dealing with the mutas for a while, but okay, I like how you're taking this fourth. That's good. Maybe it should maybe be a little bit sooner, but like I said, you've been dealing with those mutas. I like how you're dropping these racks with your money. I think you're almost getting to the point of too many turrets. I mean, obviously you want some turrets when they're committing pretty hard to mutas. But you're kind of going a little bit overboard with all the turrets. You're doing good with building, you know, building more racks. Those are like the best thing to spend your money on. More racks, racks on racks on racks on racks. CCs are also really good to build. Typically, especially on this map, I like to build my fourth CC, you know, next to my third instead of planting it at the mineral line, just to stop, you know, things like what just happened. I feel like it's, you know, safer to build your fourth close to your base and then just float it, and you can escort it, you know, to the minerals with a pack of marines if you need to.
Or I let it go down with to one circling on the other hand.
Yeah, and you're just building way too many turrets right now.
Yeah.
You know, if you had 1 or 2 Thors, he wouldn't be able to do anything with his mutas. If you just put like a Thor in your natural, a Thor at your third, and then a pack of Marines in your main, you could have got away with just, you know, just having Marines, 2 Thors, and sensor towers, you know. And you're not using the factory. You want to be using your buildings 24/7. Like your buildings should never not be producing units. You want to minimize as much downtime as possible. And so you're still making tanks. Like I said, I think you should be making Thors. You should have maybe started making Widow Mines a lot earlier on and got a second factory, you know, for Thors. Tanks just aren't that good against Lingbane Muta. Widow Mines are just so much more effective, and they attack both ground and air. Tanks are helpless against Mutas. Obviously, they can't shoot up. And if you have Thors, and even Widow Mines do pretty good damage to Ultralisks, because they disregard the armor buff. I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% about that, but
The armor or just the buff or the 3 buff?
I know that they they disregard some aspect of the armor. I'm gonna have to like look this up just to make sure I'm not feeding you lies. But Widow Mines aren't the counter to Ultras. They're just good to have against Ultras.
You know, Ultra, and see, that's a... Once we get to the late game with Zerg, their ability to go from 0 Ultras to, like, 10...
Yeah,
super tough for me to handle.
Trust me, I struggle with Ultras every day of my life as well. I think every Terran that isn't a Korean pro is having a tough time with Ultras. It's just, you gotta know that every single Zerg player is eventually going to have Ultras if the game goes past 3-4 bases. So you kind of, the meta's at a weird spot where you kind of have to blindly prepare for them. Like you need to get, you know, more Marauders, you need to get Ghosts early on, or Thors. And like I said, I like to use Thors against Lingbane Muta players for Ultras, and I like to use Ghosts against Ultras for Roach Ravager players.
Okay. And they're not bad units overall, I guess, because we can't react to Ultras. We have to prepare ahead of time, assuming they're going to come.
Exactly. If you scan and you see an Ultralisk den that's finished, or you see like Ultras already finished, and you don't have, you know, something to counter them, Ghosts, a high Liberator count, or Thors, it's really, really hard to win as a Terran. And I'm not usually the kind of person, you know, that cries, you know, about balance, or, you know, blames my losses on balance. But it is just really tough dealing with ultras, especially knowing that in order to survive against them, you do really kind of have to blindly build units to counter them. And let's see if I have anything else to say about this game. I think you need to be a little bit more aggressive about expanding. That's a trend I'm noticing in a lot of your games, especially in these TvZ games. You need to take a faster third. And whether you choose to build it on the low ground or high ground is up to you. It's kind of up to what you scout. Like I said earlier, I'm greedy. I typically like to put my CCs on the low ground, my thirds at least, which kind of bites me in the ass sometimes. But you need to take a faster third. You need to take a faster fourth. Essentially, in TvZ, you just need to aggressively expand. Because as you see, he's on 6 bases to your 3. Zerg, all the Zerg wants to do is spread creep and expand. And obviously, since hatcheries are their production buildings, they're going to have a lot of production really fast, especially since he's got a macro hatch in his main. You know, he's got 7 hatcheries right now, and he's transfusing all of them, or he should be. Or not transfusing, he's
injecting.
Injecting all of them, or at least he should be. So you're gonna have a lot of larvae with 7 hatcheries. Like, look how many freaking ultras he has, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just a really delicate balance in TvZ. You know, you obviously you can't be too aggressive. You can't just be laying CCs all over the map and, you know, expecting not to die to Ling run-bys and whatnot. But it's so easy to get behind TvZ if you just let the Zerg expand. I also noticed, I'm pretty sure you didn't do very many, if any, drops at all. It's typical for Zergs to take this as a 4th and then expand over here for 5th and 6th. I think you could have gotten away with, you know, having a drop presence over in this bottom right hand side of the map. You know, you could have been pulling his whole army over to this 4th here with a single drop, and then having a second drop over here in his natural. That's one of the things Terrans really excel at in TvZ is multitasking with multi-prong drops. And I do know he had mutas, so it's a little bit harder to pull off sick drop play against mutas. But I definitely think it's something you should attempt. And especially, even if his mutas intercept a drop, you can boost away and drop your Marines, and in some cases you can pick off a muta or 2, or you can successfully get your medevac away, or at the very least you can distract his whole muta flock from, you know, heading straight into your base. It'll give you that extra little bit of time either to position your Marines or get up, you know, a turret in your mineral line, or you know, get a Thor out. Anything you can do, you know, to distract the mutas from, you know, picking off add-ons and harassing you is good. And like I already said, way too many turrets. Like, if you count all these turrets, think about how many command centers you could have. You know, you have like 3-4 command centers just in turrets.
Right. And they didn't really get their money's worth at all.
Exactly. You know, like turrets are kind of more of a deterrent. You know, they're not necessarily that great against mutas. Because if you've noticed, a decent amount of mutas can just basically one-shot turrets over and over. So turrets are kind of just like to deter your opponent from, you know, trying to get those mutas on top of your mineral line, you know, or on top of your production. You definitely don't want to build as many as you have, especially as a bio player with Marines. Typically, the only time I would suggest building a really thick turret wall is if you're playing like a Velo style mech play where you literally do not leave your base or scout or do anything but build tanks and expand. then I would suggest, giant turret rings. But Marines are so good against mutas, and so are Thors. Really, I think you should, try not to panic when you see mutas and build so many turrets. It's really easy to just, put a chunk of Marines in each mineral line, and, 2 Marines or whatever upgrades you're at are going to shred mutas.
Okay.
So let me see. I think I'm done analyzing this replay. Let's go ahead and move on to another one.
All right. Just use a bathroom real quick, and I'll be good.
Word.
All right. Back. So I more or less end up doing the same thing in a lot of my other games.
Okay.
Probably making the exact same mistakes. Do we want to look into, or would it be time to move on to like build orders, or?
So right now what I'm doing, if you want, you can take a look at the Google Docs. Basically, I'm just writing down some specific things to work on. So basically everything I just mentioned in those couple replays, about expanding more aggressively, try not to overreact to muta or drop heavy play, work on obviously your macro. You never want idle buildings. Always spend your money and whatnot. I'm trying to be a little bit more specific than that, I guess. But let me go ahead and try to write down a few things, and I'll think about what we should do next.
Okay.
So I have these. These are the four things I'm thinking of. Um, Specific things for you to work on that I saw in those games. You need to work on expanding more aggressively. You really need to take a faster third, especially in TvZ. Trying not to overreact to mutas. And then those couple times I noticed you forgetting combat shields, try not to do that. And then also that distinction I told you about, don't commit to tanks if the Zerg is going Ling Bane Muta. Ling Bane Muta equals Widow Mines plus Thors for the Ultras, and Roach Ravager equals tanks plus Ghosts for the Ultras. I think as we go, I'll probably add a little bit more to this specific things to work on, but this will be the beginning of the list for now.
Okay.
And so I guess I'm kind of trying to decide if what I want to do is like move into some specific build orders. Do you have in mind a specific kind of build order you want to learn right now? Do you want to learn? Do you want to learn, I guess, just like my favorite build orders? You know, because I do have, you know, a couple that I consider my favorites. Do you want to learn something more cheeky, or do you want to learn something more standard?
I guess the advice I keep coming across is having a build order per matchup. For TvZ, it looks like I need to have an opening and then 2 directions to transition into. So whatever works best. So I mean, whatever we go over now, I'm probably going to make a standard for me until I'm super comfortable with all 3 matchups.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea too. So how about this? I'll go ahead and try to make sure I teach you like a super standard build order per matchup. But I also do kind of feel like teaching you some cheeky ones, just because some of the cheeky builds are my favorite plays.
Okay.
Let me... Shoot, I need to transfer all my replays to EU. So I guess, let me ask you this. How would you rather go about having me teach you build orders? There's 2 methods I like to use typically. One of them being just, you know, standard go over replays, you know, pause and analyze as it goes along. Or another way I like to teach people build orders is to do Archon mode. And essentially you do nothing while I do everything, and you kind of just observe me doing the build order.
That would be fun. Actually, Archon seems like a good way to go.
Okay. Let's see. Alright, let's do that.
Okay. I'll give you the lead.
Do you think you'd rather do like Archon mode against real players? So do you want to like actually queue up for like a ranked or unranked Archon mode match, or do you want to just do it against an AI or like no opponent, and I can just, you know, run through the build order, you know, without an opponent?
If we run through the build order without an opponent, I can actually snatch that replay for like if you do it smoothly and I can watch it, I can snatch that replay for later use without interruption of an opponent.
Yeah, so, but another thing is that we need to consider is if we do it against an actual opponent, or I guess if we're doing Archon mode 2 opponents, you'll be able to see, you know, how I react to different things that I scout and whatnot.
Okay, if we do it more than once, we definitely.
Yeah, let's do that. Let me actually see if I can find some friends that want to help us out, and that way, you know, we don't have to deal with like running into bronze players trying to cannon rush us or whatever. Ooh, and I also just remembered NA's down and we'll have high ping on EU. We might not want to do the Archon mode idea until we can get back on NA.
I'm game for either. I know I could ask the sandbox for a Zergling or a Zerg player if you don't have anybody online.
Let's see. Actually, you know what? I'm actually gonna just show you some of my replays. I'm gonna try to find a replay I saved recently.
Okay.
Yeah, so just give me one quick moment while I go through my replays. Luckily, I deleted so I've had like Salite or SC2 gears ever since I started playing Starcraft on this computer. So I had like 8,000 or more replays, all from like Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm. And I just recently deleted all of those and started fresh with Legacy of the Void replays. So luckily it won't take me very long to find a good one. And I think we're almost about 3 or so hours in. We started around like 8 o'clock, I think.
Like 2.5 according to the recording.
Oh, is it? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You know, what are your thoughts so far? Are you having a good time? Are you enjoying it? You feel like you're learning, or you know, you feel like I'm wasting your time at all?
No, I think we. So in the beginning, obviously, I think there are a lot of things I know I'm already doing wrong. But as we got into the replays, you're pointing out a lot of things that I'm not seeing. I'd like to think that I'm always producing SCVs, but because I don't queue up any, there's definitely gaps of time where I'm missing it. I definitely wasn't paying attention to any gas. I hadn't thought about that. A lot of these notes are new information. From this point, it's once we're done for the day, it's going to be a lot of focusing on that and working on it. But no, I definitely don't think it's a waste of time.
Okay, so here is actually, I don't know. Yeah, I'll show you this replay. This is something I just learned yesterday, actually, this build order. And I don't have it down perfectly, but this replay I'm going to show you is the replay of me and my buddy playing it, and we were doing the Archon method of he was teaching me the replay through Archon.
Okay.
I just need to copy it over to my EU account. So this is a timing attack, but it's also something it's not all in. So it's a timing attack. It's a Hellbat stim timing, but if you don't, if you get shut down and don't do as much damage as you want, you don't automatically lose. So like I said, it's not all in. And it has a good transition out of it. And there is a point at which there's a decision for you to make, with two alternate, tech paths.
Okay.
And this is a build. Do you know who Maru is? He's a Terran player for Jin Air Green Wings.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is a build my buddy Monk here. He copied the build from Maru. He used it in Pro League the other night. And as you can see, he's saying, let me macro. I have a new build I want to show you. And these guys were actually pretty decent. We have kind of low MMR in ranked Archon just because we haven't played very many times. But these guys were ranked Diamond, I think. Diamond Archons. And we were ranked Gold at the time. We got promoted to Platinum after this game. Oh yeah, he was the one macroing, and I kept making SCVs. But here, I want to show you. I actually do the SCV stacking trick that I was talking about earlier.
Game ended.
Let me start over.
Interesting that there's a trophy.
So, do you see the SCV I have selected? It's mining the uppermost mineral patch.
Yes.
So look what I do. Hopefully you're able to see it.
Game resumed.
But do you see how it kind of like twitched for a second?
You were forcing it to stay on that patch.
Exactly, because that's the patch that's closest. And if you notice that, I'll do that with other ones too. That's just a real little thing to get the best efficiency out of your SCVs. So this build starts out as a standard Reaper expand, and like Monk is saying here, it's a Marine Hellbat timing. And then like I said before, it's not like a Marine Hellbat all-in. I could teach you a Marine Hellbat all-in, but I actually personally really like this Marine Hellbat timing a lot more than the all-in, I know. So like I said, standard Reaper expand. And whenever you Reaper expand, or at least whenever I Reaper expand, or Monk, we have really similar play styles because we practice together a lot. If you're not scouting with the SCV that builds the barracks, that should always be the one that builds your command center. Just so you're not pulling a second SCV off the minerals. And like I'm saying here, this build is actually pretty straightforward to execute. That's one of the things I like about it. It's pretty simple. So basically you go Reaper expand, and then instead of making a reactor directly after the Reaper, you make one Marine. And this Marine, I'm not exactly sure if I do this game, but what the one Marine should be for is to deny any overlords that are scouting. So if he were to spawn, you know, if they spawn down there, they'd have an overlord right about here at this time. So as you can see, the Marine's going to be scouting around, hopefully looking, you know, at the edge of maps. Hey Siegfried, are you still banned from talking? Looks like it. I'm coaching this guy right now, so we were hoping for a little bit of privacy.
What do you mean I'm banned from talking?
That's, I think someone was saying that earlier. I don't know, but yeah, do you think we can get a little bit of privacy?
User left your channel.
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem. No problem.
Like I said, I kind of thought, you know, clan mates might hop in here. But okay, so back to this build. So you do the Reaper expand. You start one Marine after the Reaper. You don't want to start a reactor right away because that's going to let you start a factory much sooner than if you had spent 50 gas on the reactor, you know, directly after the Reaper. And then obviously you see here you switch the factory once it's after the Marine is complete from the barracks. You start the reactor finally, so it goes Reaper, Marine, reactor, and you should be starting your factory at 100 gas after the Reaper. And then you switch your factory onto the reactor that you built with the racks, and you start making Hellions. And this is also one of those points. So with this Reaper I have over on the other side of the map, I was the one microwing. I wasn't very good at scouting his gases. Because I wanted to get as many Zergling kills as I possibly could. Basically, I was scouting his gas by waiting for his Zergling speed timing. So what I do is I harass the Lings with the Reaper until I confirm he got speed with his Lings. And then once he's got speed with his Lings, I know he's not doing some sort of cheeky roach push or something, but if I don't see the speed on his lings, instead of getting these Hellions, which we're about to get from the factory on the reactor, we would probably opt to go for tanks. And so we're building this tech lab on the racks, and after about 2 or 4 Hellions, if by that time we've seen roaches, we're definitely going to switch this factory back to the tech lab, or we're going to switch the factory to the tech lab that's about to be built on the racks and starting a tank. And then, you know, once we've identified how hard he's committing to the roach attack or whatever, we would decide whether or not to make more than 1 tank. You know, if, you know, we see he's going roach ravager, we'll obviously commit to the tanks. But anyways, let's go ahead and keep going with this.
Game resumed.
One thing I like to do with my Reapers, I really like to deny creep spread with my Reapers. So if you look here, I focus fire this creep tumor.
Game resumed.
And grenades are pretty good at killing tumors. I can't remember exactly how many it takes to kill a tumor, but it's definitely extra DPS. That's worth, you know, worth throwing down a grenade to help kill a creep tumor. And so, just like with any Reaper into Hellion build in TvZ, you want to make sure, you know, they're across the map. And look right here, I identify that he's got speed. So I know he's not doing some crazy roach play. I could have been a little bit more, I guess, active with the Reaper. I could have sacrificed the Reaper to send it into his main, and I would have seen the timing of his Baneling nest. Also, depending on if you know, you can see how hard a Zerg is droning, you can kind of assume whether or not they have a third. I check here in a moment, I believe, with this medevac. And let me go ahead and pause it. I feel like I wasn't focused enough back at home. So, as you can see, after those 4 Hellions, we only made 4 Hellions, and that's for the drop. And then we took the factory off the reactor, and then started another barracks on that reactor, and then remade another reactor with the factory. And we also started a 3rd racks at the same time we took our factory off the initial reactor. So right now what the game plan is, I'm going to try and distract them with this this medevac here. I'm also going to send it at such an angle so that I confirm he's got a 3rd base, and hopefully avoid overlords. Because obviously, you know, the less your opponent sees, the better. You know, if you can avoid overlords, that's very good. And you'll also notice we have a Viking. This Viking is pretty important as far as this build is concerned, because this Viking is going to deny him map presence. We're going to send this Viking out on the map to take out overlords and to push him back so that he's not able to see when we come across the map with our Hellbat stim timing. And also one thing I want to note is, like I was mentioning in you know, a couple replays ago, you want to put depots in weird places. You want to put them in the corners of your base. You want to put them in places where you're likely to get like Nidus wormed, or places where mutas are likely to come in, or where drops. Basically, you never want there to be a shadow in your own base. That is bad. So let's go ahead. We'll keep watching this.
Game resumed.
This specific build, you don't want to lose the Hellions that you have in this drop. I'm pretty sure I end up losing a couple. Yeah, there I lose one. You kind of want to keep them alive because they really help out with the Hellbat push. And as you can see, I'm trying to multitask kind of with this Reaper over here, just kind of, you know, pull him around the map. I think that was my Archon partner telling me to be more active with the drop. And as you can see, basically this Hellion drop doesn't really get any damage done, but that's kind of okay because we're not really trying to get damage done. We're just trying to distract him. We're trying to make our Zerg opponent overreact, because the more army units a Zerg player makes to, you know, defend against your pressure, the less drones they're going to have, and the less hatcheries they're going to have because they're spending all their money on units, army units. So let's see.
Game paused.
So we have stem complete. Combat shields is halfway done. If you notice, we started combat shields immediately after stem. You don't want to have combat shields queued up when stem is halfway through. You just want to start it immediately after. We should be starting our third extremely soon. It's getting to that point where it's standard, you know, or, you know, a little bit later than standard. And there we go. We do drop our third around 6 minutes. And then the Viking, like I told you, the Viking is supposed to, you know, clear out overlords so that your opponent doesn't see your push coming across the map. But this is one of those maps that's huge, wide, and open, and there's no real good spots to put overlords in the middle of the map. So we were okay with being a little bit lazy about the Viking, but on maps like Dusk Towers, you want to make sure that your Viking is on the same specific path that your push is going to be going. So I guess another general rule of thumb, a lot of the times in TvZ, every time you push or attack, you want to expand behind it. Because that's the least likely time for you to be attacked. Can't remember who said it. I think it was Artosis, but there's kind of a rock, paper, scissors dynamic in Starcraft. When your opponent is expanding, you should be attacking. When your opponent is defending, or you are attacking, you should be expanding. And if you are expanding, you should be defending. So it's kind of this weird triangle, but basically it's kind of rule of thumb. When you are attacking and you have the minerals and you're about to do damage, make trades or whatever, you want to expand behind it.
Game resumed.
Okay.
And if I hadn't
Game
have
paused.
lost 3 Hellions, we would have 3 more Hellbats here, which would help out immensely, but I'm pretty sure we still win with this push.
What is the difference between Hellbats and Hellions? I mean, other than speed.
So it's really weird. Hellions are a mechanical unit, and Hellbats are a mechanical and bio unit. So, wait, did I say that backwards? Hellions are mechanical, Hellbats are mechanical and bio. So Hellbats can be repaired by SCVs, and they can be healed by medevacs. Hellions can't be healed by medevacs. They can only be repaired by SCVs.
So they fit into the bio real easily. Does the fire arc, I know it's different, does that play a lot into their strengths?
Yeah, so the Hellion shoots an elongated, narrow trajectory. So Hellions are good for getting run-bys on drone lines, because if they line up their drones, it's called a drone barbecue. You know, line them up and burn them. And Hellbats shoot in a more like cone shape. They're more, so think of Hellbats as a melee unit or a melee unit, and then think of Hellions as more of a ranged unit.
Okay.
So anyways, let's see how this push goes. And we're a little bit supply blocked right now. But it doesn't matter because we won. So basically, right here, so like I was mentioning in one of those replays before, basically what we would do from here if we didn't win with this push, we would start 2 more racks, bringing us to a total of 5. We would start our +1 armor, obviously. We would then saturate our 3rd as soon as it completes. And we'd probably, depending on how much damage we did, we'd also probably think about taking a 4th. Because sometimes you can get away with a greedy 4th against Zerg. Especially, you know, if you've done damage to them and they have to retake their natural or retake their 3rd. They're not going to be attacking for a while. So if we hadn't won with this, but, you know, we got some drone kills or got a hatchery kill, a 4th is definitely not out of the question. But essentially the main transition at this point would be 2 more racks, and then depending on if they had roaches or not, we would stop building Hellions and go into tanks. After this combat shields finishes, you know, probably switch the racks onto the tech, or the racks onto the reactor and the factory on the tech lab, get some tanks. So yeah, so this is a really strong timing push, but it's not all in. It's definitely like a macro oriented build.
Okay. I like it. I don't use enough Hellions or Hellbats, so really expand my comfort zone.
So, this is another like rule of thumb in TvZ. After your first 4 Hellions, that's a good time to decide, okay, am I going to keep making Hellions, or am I going to switch to tanks? Or am I going to, you know, switch to tanks real quick, just make 1, you know, and then switch back to Hellions. The cool thing about Terran is we have these things called add-ons, and that's kind of like the way we do our tech switches. You know how a Zerg can just, you know, inject larva, build a spire, and tech switch like that.
Right.
The way Terran's tech switch is by swapping add-ons. And like I was saying before, you know, Roach Ravager equals tanks, Fling Bane Muta equals Widow Mines and or, you know, Hellions. As the game goes on in TvZ, you know, after a while you kind of want to stop making Hellions unless you're going for mech. I think around 6 to 8 Hellions is a good number. Less if they're going Roach Ravager. And if they do go Roach Ravager, you want to try and get, you know, as many drone kills with your Hellions as you can. You want to sacrifice them. If he's marching across the map, you know, with roaches, and you have 4 Hellions, you want to get those 4 Hellions in his mineral line or something. So yeah, anyways, let's do a take command.
Game ended. Game started.
Game paused.
Game ended.
And so this is a neat little trick. I don't know if you know about this, but
Game resumed.
we can do take command, and that gives you the replay.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
So I don't have to like upload it to TG Tracker or send it to you on Skype or anything.
Game paused.
Oh dang, you're using a custom observer interface. That's okay. I'll just go ahead and send it to you through Skype.
I'll disable that. It's not
Can you
even
do
useful.
that?
I can't disable it here. We'd have to come back in and do it all over again.
Yeah, so I'll just send this specific replay to you over Skype.
Yeah, default. If I hit default, let's see. If I hit default right now, will that change it?
It's not letting me hit start game.
Okay. No worries.
But yeah, keep that in mind. If you ever want to send someone a replay, or if you want to grab a replay from someone, just, you know, put it a couple seconds before the end of the replay and do take command. And that'll give you the replay and the build order all the way up to where you did the take command. So anyways, let's go ahead and quit this. Let me go ahead and send you this on Skype. So definitely learn that build, because that's a build Maru did. He won with it, and as you see, me and Monk did really well with it just now. It seems to be an all-around really strong and also pretty safe build. I would definitely suggest getting used to using Hellions and TvZ, because they basically wreck Zerglings. But you just need to be careful, because you don't want to overproduce Hellions, because they don't do anything against roaches. If the opponent shows up to your base and all you've got is Hellions, you're screwed. You know, you need to figure out early on if Hellions are what you want to do, or tanks. And you can still do the Hellbat timing, just delay it, you know, by 20 seconds or whatever by building a tank real quick, just for defense. And you can still have pretty decent success against roaches and ravagers with Hellbats. Not Hellions so much, but Hellbats, because they're more of a beefier unit that can be healed by medevacs. And also, you know, don't forget ever that Hellbats require, so you can morph your Hellions into Hellbats, but it requires an armory. So just, you know, never forget that. Part of that build was getting a pretty early armory.
I saw that you did armory before second eBay.
Yep.
So in that, if I get up to 4 Hellions, and that's when I should know. Like I do the 4, and then I have to find out if he's going Roach or not.
Exactly. So after the first 4 Hellions, if he goes Roach, you know, get a tank as fast as you can, or 2 tanks, or whatever, you know.
Okay.
And then, let's see. Okay, I'm going to show you another replay that is my one of my current favorite TvZ builds.
Okay.
Which is also kind of standard. I guess not super standard, but it's not all in basically. Just give me a minute to find it.
Sure. I'll use the bathroom while you do that. This coffee's going through me.
Okay.
Okay.
Alright, give me a second. I'm trying to find this replay. Sorry this is taking so long. It's just
No
kind of
worries.
hard. It's kind of hard because I can't like, um, like look at the replays in game where it gives me more information. I guess I'm just gonna pull it up in Selite real quick. I'll shoot you. I think I found it. Oh, never mind. That was a TVP build. Shoot.
It's no worries. I mean, we're at the 3-hour mark. If you want to call that well-rounded and work on TVP and TVT next time.
Okay. I mean, are you comfortable with that build I just showed you? Like, are you happy? Like, did you like it enough to feel like you want to practice it and whatnot?
I think so. I do like that one. If anything, we're just at the saturation point until I practice some of the stuff we talked about.
Okay. Okay.
But if you have a greater game plan, I don't want to interrupt that and miss out on some quality.
Oh no, I don't have I don't have a greater game plan, but I do want to show you this one replay. Then, now that we're talking about moving on, I do want to show you another TvZ replay. You can choose whether or not you want to learn the build or not. I kind of just want to show it to you because it's one of my new favorite ones.
Okay. While you're looking, I already snagged the salt encoding from that last one, so it'll definitely be practiced.
Okay, 642. That's 643. Here we go. Oops. Another thing I was thinking about doing for you, tell me what you think about this. I was thinking about literally just like zipping my entire replay folder and giving that to you, and that would be like 2,000 replays of mine that you could just go through, and you could watch all my wins and losses, and you could watch the couple of games where I get kind of bad mannered because sometimes I'll do that. Starcraft brings the worst out of us.
No, I'll take them. I won't turn down a replay pack.
Cool, yeah, I'll give you literally all my replays.
I'll start building up some organization in my replay folder.
Yeah, and you can, like I said, you can watch the games where I lose, where I win. You can copy whatever build orders you see that you like. Give me a second. I just copied it over, so go.
Ready when you are.
So this build's pretty cheeky.
It's a good word.
It's
Game started.
it's not quite cheese, but it's definitely not like a standard macro build. It can be all in, and the way I do it this game makes it a little bit less all in, and I'll point out why. But basically, the whole premise of this build is to trick your opponent into thinking you're going Mass Reaper when you're actually not. Basically, you want your opponent to overreact and build things like spines or zerglings he doesn't need, or defensive roaches that he doesn't need. Basically, I'm gonna do like a Reaper expand sort of, but instead of a Reaper, I'm gonna make a reactor and then expand. And I'm gonna make 6 Reapers. And unless the Zerg is really good at scouting, it's gonna look a whole lot like I'm going Mass Reaper. So they're gonna, you know, basically I'm hoping for them to overreact.
Is it possible for them to overreact and then just push into your base with all the extra army they made?
You'll see. Not
Okay.
really.
Because I assume that you force them into making army over drones, so that gives them a limited window where they could overrun you.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, you'll see here in a sec.
Cool.
So this is kind of bad that he does the extractor steal. It's not the end of the world though. It's just kind of a nuisance. So standard reactor expand. You know, you just get that reactor instead of a Reaper. You know, start your second depot. Your second depot, the SCV building it, is going to be rallied to build another rack. So see how I have my rally? It's, you know, I shift clicked a bunch of times.
Right, I see. Okay.
And since he took my second gas at my main, I just started a gas at my natural, and I long distance mine from it for like a cycle or two, which isn't ideal, but you do need a second gas for this build, and you get the second gas right after you start your second barracks. So we got two Reapers headed his way. I'm just gonna, you know, poke around, try to kill Zerglings, try to deny his third, which I failed to do here. But see, he sees 2 Reapers and he's getting a Spine Crawler in his mineral line, which is already an overreaction. That's already the kind of reaction I want from it.
And these 2 Reapers can kill that?
So basically yeah, no, 2 Reapers can't, but 4 kinda can.
Okay.
I probably should be poking in right now trying to kill creep tumors and lings. But basically I just want to give the illusion that I'm going Mass Reaper. And so like, and I also don't want to lose any of the Reapers, so I'm just doing whatever damage I can to his third. And as you see, I get him to cancel it.
Oh wow.
And then he transitions into a super defensive Roach build, because he has fallen for my trap and thinks I'm going Mass Reaper. I probably shouldn't be showing him these Marines attacking the extractor. This was probably kind of a mistake. because that kind of indicates that I'm not building only Reapers. But as you can see, I stopped building Reapers at 6. I go in there, you know, try to just throw grenades around, do whatever I can, just be annoying. And sometimes I get a reactor on that 3rd barracks or that 2nd barracks I built. Sometimes I don't. Like this game, I don't. I opt to just build a 4th racks. And then we see me switch the starport onto the reactor because I want 2 medevacs as soon as possible. And as you can see, so right here, I don't build a tech lab on the factory every game. The reason I'm doing this is because I saw the roaches. If I hadn't seen the roaches, I would have built a reactor on this factory instead, and I would have started making widow mines. So that's really important. I keep saying that about the widow mines and tanks thing, but it really is crucial, because tanks are going to get shat on by lings.
Game resumed.
So you try to be as active as you can with the Reapers. You want to, you know, just like I said, be annoying, get whatever damage done you can. And all the while, look at how many Marines I have at home. The stem's almost complete, and 2 medevacs are almost complete. And see, I've started my 3rd extremely early. This is what makes this build not quite all in. It's still kind of all in because I need to do damage with it, or I'm behind. But instead of getting this 3rd, I could have gotten more racks. I could have, you know, added reactors on my racks and, you know, kept pumping out more Marines. We get a tiny bit supply blocked here, which isn't good by any means. And it's basically a stem timing. You want to attack as soon as stem is complete. I siege this tank at home as opposed to rallying it to my main army. Just for defense in case he tries to do like a ling counter or a, you know, a 3-4 roach counter. And then basically right here it's just a micro battle. You know, obviously dodge biles, throw down the Reaper grenades. And I need to practice what I preach. My combat shields wasn't started right after stem. So right here I got a ton of damage done, but obviously I've overstayed my welcome, so I retreat a little bit. I see a overlord. I think I pick off this overlord. Yeah, I do. You want to, with this build, you want to, you know, once you're transitioned into a 3rd, you want to start your upgrades. You can, I wouldn't recommend it, but I guess you could start upgrades before your 3rd. I usually like to get my 3rd before upgrades. I'm still making tanks because I know he's got those Ravagers still. Let's see. And still making medevacs. I guess my macro is a little bit sloppy this game. I'm not producing as efficiently as I would like. I'm doing okay-ish on saturation. Not the best. Could be better. Could, you know, snag a couple SCVs from my natural, transfer them to my 3rd.
What was the thought process right here? Like you peeked over, then you're moving back around?
Yeah, so that's the most standard 4th for a Zerg to take. I was kind of just, you know, peeking over there, see if I didn't want to waste a scan. So I was peeking over there, and if he had a base, you know, I was going to attack it. That's why I brought my whole army. But he didn't, you know, so I back up a little bit. Trying to stay off creep because I don't want him to see me for as long as possible. And then push in for the kill. He shouldn't have gone mutas this game. There was no reason for him to. I guess besides the fact that I was making tanks. Yeah, and there we go. So that's another build. If you feel like learning, go ahead. Oh, and then from here I just kind of do a victory lap, kill all this stuff.
Well, if we do the takeover from here, I'll get everything done.
Yeah.
Game ended.
Game paused.
So he didn't want to take that fight by the tanks, is what I'm getting out of this.
Yeah, so he took a really bad engagement. He also made mutas. I don't know why he made mutas. I've heard, from my Zerg friends that when you go mutas, you either want to go 2-base muta or 4-base. 3-base muta is just like an awkward amount of bases to go mutas on. I mean, I guess I'm thinking he, thought I was still committed to Reapers, so he didn't think I was going to have, enough Marines or anything at home to defend. Let's go ahead and see what his vision of my base is. So, yeah, I guess he knows I'm not still committed to the Reapers. Really don't know why he went mutas. Mutas were probably the exact worst choice he could have made for tech at this point in the game. I mean, I guess they could go do damage since I don't have turrets, but, my army is in his third, so...
I mean, he pulled back from your army. He was refusing to engage the tanks. I would have liked to have seen the mutas fly around and try to snipe a tank.
Yeah, so, yeah, he should have done that. I guess maybe the reason he went mutas is technically at this point he should be on 4 bases, but since I killed his, canceled his third or killed it or whatever, his third base kind of in a weird way is his 4th base.
Timing. Where he's normally at this point.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So he, he was probably just, continuing on with his strategy or build order, down a base essentially. So here, let's do take command. So this is a build. Don't use this build on every map because you want to keep your 6 Reapers alive, and you're going to lose them on maps like Dusk Towers or Laralac Crest. The only 2 maps I would suggest doing this build on are this map because you can abuse the Reapers being able to jump up and down cliffs. Right here. Oops. I don't know why it's not letting me ping, but you can abuse, the cliffs, high ground for the Reapers. So this map and Preon Terraces, those are the only 2 maps I would suggest using this build on. But that last build I showed you, that's a build you can do on any map. So that's a lot more standard. This is more of like a specialty build.
Okay.
So basically just think of this one as fake Mass Reaper.
Fake Mass Reaper. I like it. I'll have to build a repertoire of these things. I mean, I'm going from near 0 build orders to 3/3+, so I like it. Ah! Cool.
And yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Let's see where this drops it. So this probably drops it in the main folder, like everything else.
And I will be right back.
Okay.
right, I'm back. Sorry about that.
Hey, there are some things I was going to take care of before 2 p.m. that I probably need to take care of now. We could come back and do this, pick it up later this evening or another day.
Okay. What are we at for time on your recording?
3 hours and 25 minutes.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, man, if you need to go, that's perfectly fine. We can, continue whenever, whatever's clever.
Well, what's your plan for like 4 hours from now? If you have today open, we can knock out whatever's next. This felt like a good, solid place to break it up.
Yeah, I feel like I have kind of, thrown a lot of information at you to digest. I mean, we can, we can start talking about TVP or whatever, or we can, we can do that Marine split idea I was talking about, where we practice in like the unit tester.
Mm-hmm. I like what we did for TvZ. So I mean, whatever we do, I would just like to make sure we do the same thing for TVP versus TVT.
Cool. Yeah, we can definitely do that. So if we do, hop into TVP, I would like to, invest, the same amount of time, if not more time, that we did TvZ. So sure, we might want to wait, resume later or tomorrow or something. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to be doing the next 4 hours. I can't promise you I'm not going to fall asleep.
Well, I have, so I just got to do some shopping, going to work for a little bit. And then after that, I'm open. Or tomorrow, my only commitment tomorrow right now is 1 p.m. lunch. It's central for me, so, whichever works for you. It would be, tomorrow morning, same time, or tomorrow afternoon after lunch, or this evening.
Yeah, well, like I said earlier, tomorrow I do have an interview at 11:45 my time, so tomorrow morning won't work that well.
You're Pacific, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And what, we're at 3.5 hours right now?
Right. If we go over, we can discuss that, I guess, because we did spend a lot of time on TvZ, and I wouldn't want to shorten the other two if we have that option.
Don't worry about it, man. Like, we don't have to, specifically do only 8 hours, like...
In the middle of a replay, you're done, that's it. I'll talk to you later.
Exactly. Like, you're my buddy now, I'm gonna help you out for, as long as I know you. I'm gonna be, talking build orders and stuff with you. 8 hours is just what I'm, committing to you for sure. Who knows, over our time of knowing each other, what if I provide you, 10 times that many hours in coaching, so.
Okay, no, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not going to cut you off right at 8 hours. Middle of a replay, like, all right, dude, I'm done.
Fair enough.
So yeah, let's go ahead and call it a day for today, or at least right now. Hit me up a little bit later on Skype. We'll see, if I'm still around, we can continue. But if not, let's just plan for, tomorrow afternoon or tomorrow evening, or the next day or whatever.
Nope, sounds fantastic. I'll let you know, and I'll get in contact as soon as I'm done with what I had to take care of.
Perfect, man. Well, it was nice chatting with you. I hope you think I'm doing good so far. And I hope I hope you're gaining something out of this. I really hope we get you that promotion into platinum, hopefully into diamond as soon as possible.
No, definitely appreciate it. A lot to digest. I think that a lot of this effort's going to be on my part. You've handed me a lot to look at. Now I actually have to look at it and devour. So, hey man, I'll let you know. Talk to you later.
All right, man. Take care.
Bye.
Disconnected.
Hey, so that was what I think I'm going to call the TvZ part of my coaching. It's a little over 3.5 hours. We spent a little bit of time on Terran fundamentals with Marine production, but this will be uploaded for my reference and for anybody who's interested. And then we'll get a TVP and TVT uploaded once we're done there. But that was a lot of information. His notes, my notes. I have a lot of work to do. I don't know how long it's going to take. So, hey, I'm going to work on at least one of those builds. Probably the Hellbat stuff to start with until I'm comfortable with that 111. His 111 looked a lot like the 111 I was practicing and that you saw in my deliberate practice piece. But hey, thanks for tuning in. That was a little long. If you stayed for the whole 3 hours, I hope you got something out of it. Probably some great information for all the low-level Terrans out there like me. So, hey, thank you, and let me know what you think. Oh yeah, and sorry for that like 10 or 15 minute block period where I was staring. You were staring at me while I was looking at the game, and you didn't see anything. But I'll provide a link to that replay so you can look at it yourself in the comments. Okay, thank you.